Hello. I forgot to add us in during the song there. Big whoops.
Oh, well.
How are you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of Showboys. I said that in reverse order, but yeah.
Remix.
How
Doing
you
good,
guys
man.
doing?
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah,
Hey, no
doing
problem.
great. Doing great. Minute 20 into the episode, and we're doing great.
Yeah. Glad you guys could join me on my pod. No, I was kidding. But no, yeah, we're here. It's Thursday night. It's 9:02 p.m. That means we're going to be here for probably 3 hours. Because Chad's with us, and we're talking about video game stuff. Another episode of What's Playing. So before we get into that, though, excuse me, clear my throat. Have a few things. I just want to say if anyone was able to catch our episode last week, the 50th episode special,
It was epic.
It was super fun. We had a lot of viewers during the live stream, which was really cool. Lots of interaction with the chat, which was awesome. We gave away a lot of things. We had a few giveaways on top of other things we were giving away. It was super fun. Just wanted to thank everyone who was able to tune in and make it such a fun episode for us. We hope, there's 50,000 more episodes to come or something. I don't know. But yeah, I did make a trip out to the post office 2 days ago and put all of your magnets and Funko Pops in the mail. I think I got a few messages from our Funko Pop winners that they arrived. So hope you enjoy. Yeah.
It was a good time.
It's a great time.
Giving out magnets, stickers.
Yeah.
Well, no stickers yet.
No stickers yet. But you want to know how you can get a sticker?
Ooh, how do you get a sticker, Mike?
You can get a sticker by signing up on our Patreon page. We have a Patreon page now, which was another thing we talked about last week. We have tiers starting as low as $1 a month. You can help support the show. You can help us reach our goals and dreams of becoming famous podcasters and never having to work. But more realistically, you can just help us continue to create content for you guys and improve the stream and the show as much as possible. If you're able to do so, we greatly appreciate it. We had a couple people sign up last week, and we're super thankful for them. But yes, the first 10 people who sign up for our Patreon will get this really cool
Exclusive.
limited run Showboys Mosaic logo sticker, which the little block sound waves are made up of a bunch of things that we love and have talked about on the show. And it's a really cool logo. One of my favorite ones that we have. And we only made a handful of those stickers. So be one of the few people who gets one. Just sign up on our Patreon. We have a link in our episode description you can check out. But yeah, what are we talking about tonight, Chad?
So we wanted to do weird gaming history, and I think I mentioned on a previous episode the kind of how the origins of the PlayStation. So that's what I want to talk about tonight.
Yeah, somewhere in the mix of we're talking about Nintendo and PlayStation, you brought up the point that they actually have an interesting history together.
Yes.
And it would make a good episode topic amongst other things we talk about on What's Playing, like what we are playing. And we will definitely get to that. I know Mike's fresh off the game right now. You can see it in his eyes.
Yeah, like 7 minutes fresh off the game, which if you're watching, that is, 1 minute before we went live. So maybe that's why the intro kind of sucked and I'm not really on it right now. I've been playing, if you're in our Discord or you've seen any of our streams pop up throughout the week, I've been in a little bit of a Pokemon kick, and very much like Chad and like we've talked about on the show a ton of times before, once I get on a kick, it goes real deep. So along with slamming Pokemon Unite, which by the way I hit Ultra rank, which is the second
Ultra.
highest rank. I'm almost to Masters, and then I can become the best there ever was.
Can you go pro yet?
No, not yet. But dude, we should get into the esports game and own a Pokemon Unite team, Nick. Just saying. It's a little future investment.
Showboys Unite team.
Yeah, there you go.
I can see
Start
it.
our esports organization now.
Man.
But no, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Unite. It's been super fun. Playing a lot with underfunded scientists. If you're lurking in chat, you've probably seen his name quite a few times. That's been a blast. And I recently, as in yesterday, started playing a new fan-made Pokemon game called Pokemon Daybreak. And I haven't played very much of it yet, but it is super cool. And of all the fan-made Pokemon games I've played so far, this one is probably the coolest, simply because they actually created an entire new region and new storyline. The game I think they have 600 Pokemon spread across all the different generations. They did come up with 2 new Eevee evolutions, I think, a new thing called Dualions, which is kind of cool. But just the fact that they built an entire new region and crafted an entire new campaign, full with 10 gym badges and the Elite Four and everything, is super cool. I just think that's awesome.
And it's 2D like the older ones, right?
Oh yeah, it looks straight up like Gen 2, Gen 1 Pokemon games, which is awesome.
Does Nintendo have anything to do with that?
No, because it's actually good. I don't know if you played any of the new Pokemon games.
Deep burn.
They're not great.
I'm just curious how they get away with it, is my question.
I don't know. I don't think they make money off of it, so I don't think.
Well, I think I feel like Nintendo, Pokemon's just such a cash cow. I think a free game out there doesn't really hurt. Completely someone made it in their basement, basically, it sounds like. Versus, I guess, a studio like Blizzard, though, takes issue with private servers being up.
That's because they're a small indie company, bro.
Right, exactly. So, yeah. They weren't making money in that situation. They were hunting and shutting those servers down after so many months of online.
Yeah.
But I think that was them. That was them, though, I think, because they knew they were going to eventually put out Classic, and that was basically probably why they were hunting those down.
Yeah. That makes more sense for sure. Because
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to
you're all right. A similar thing happened with Grand Theft Auto. They went and pulled all the mods for the older Grand Theft Autos in preparation for the trilogy HD remaster. So that makes sense if it happened like that.
I'm not sure how these fan-made games are still surviving because like the Poke MMO game that I was playing, like that's been around since like 2012 or something. Like it's been around for a really long time.
It's a long time.
It's pretty popular amongst the like fan-made games. And this Daybreak game, I think it was made, I want to say 2020. I'm not sure. But it's pretty highly regarded amongst the fan-made community. So I'm excited to get deeper into that. One last cool thing about the game is instead of picking, your traditional, like one of 3 starter Pokemon, they just give you an Eevee and then allow you to pick any of the 6, I believe, evolutions of Eevee right off the start. So you get an Eevee level 5, and then before you start your adventure, you can pick any stone to evolve it into any of the Eevee evolutions you want, which is kind of cool. So I started with a level 5 Umbreon, which is fun. And then BioSiv chimes in. He says, Nintendo is super strict. They don't care if you make money. If you use any of their IPs, they will shut you down.
That's what I always thought, but it seems like these Pokemon games are not getting that treatment for whatever reason.
Yeah, I have no idea how they're flying under the radar.
Well, maybe it's a Niantic thing then.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe.
Wasn't it Nintendo several years ago that weren't they like shutting streamers down just for like streaming their games? I feel like Biosiv, you'll have to let me know. But I feel like it was Nintendo that was like taking streaming content off of YouTube because it was using footage of their games.
That could be. I know that a couple games have come out that have been really strict about that. I think The Last of Us Part 2 was one of them, even though their entire game leaked prior to launch anyway. So it really made no sense. But there are even like some parts of games that are blocked out for streaming. And I'm trying to think. There was a game where like an entire section was blocked out for streaming, and I can't off the top of my head remember what it was.
Nice. I'm gonna look that up real quick and mute for a second. But what have you been getting into lately, Chad?
So I am back on Ghost of Tsushima, which shouldn't really shock much of anybody that listens to this.
It just came out though, brand new game.
It did, brand new game, and I will be honest with you, it really feels like a brand new game to me. Like it really does, and. You know, the first time hopping on that horse without that arrow quiver was like, you know, a memory I'll cherish forever because I've been waiting for that moment for so long.
So now that I admittedly, I have also been playing Ghost. I got it this week. What was the previous interaction? Now I don't know any version of this game previous to its current glory of the director's cut. So was the quiver just always there as soon as you learned how to use a bow?
Yeah. So I don't know how far into the game are you?
I guess I'm like 4% per my trophies.
Okay. Like, but you got the bow.
Yeah, I got the bow.
Okay.
I'm pretty well equipped already.
So basically that bow mission is when you get the quiver. And then I believe, and I still believe this even now with the way that they did it, that because you can take the bow off your back, but the quiver would stay there. It wouldn't come off with the bow. Now they've made it two different ways. They kind of, you know, were stacking their deck for me in case I was complaining about the other way. But so now you can remove the bow and the quiver comes off, or you can go into the settings and completely remove the bow altogether. So you just pull it out of thin air, which is what I have on because I don't ever want to see that thing. So
I think I have that on. I think I need to flip that so I can see it with it on.
Yeah. So if you take that setting off, anytime that you pull out the bow, it'll be on your back, the quiver and everything, and then you can put it back on your back.
Okay.
But as soon as you switch away to one of the other weapons, it will disappear.
Nice.
So that, you know, that was like a huge thing for me. I know it's small and a lot of people are probably making fun of me for it, but it like, I'm not going to say that it ruined the game for me, but I mean, it was like just a giant sore thing to look at the entire game.
I mean, it's an incredibly beautiful game. So, and everything else is everything's in place and not out of place. And I guess the one thing that's out of place that's like right in the middle of your screen would be kind of an eyesore,
right?
In a game that's otherwise so well put together.
Yeah, and it really that's how it kind of shocked me because it just seemed like a glitch to me. Like they accidentally forgot to check the box to remove the quiver with the bow. That's how it seemed to me. But it really, I mean, it got to the point where it annoyed me so bad that I would always waste all my arrows. So I had no arrows and it was just an empty quiver sitting there. And I totally, yes, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Biosiv rudely interrupted Chad. What a jerk. He says, did the quiver break the immersion for you?
Yeah, 100%. Like, without a doubt. I have no...
I'll never know. It's very immersive.
Yeah.
With Chad's fix to the game. It's 100% immersive now.
Yeah.
Can I just say something real quick before we get any further? We have to talk about a problem Chad has. It has come to our attention just, you know, a few short moments before the stream started, just how many screenshots Chad has of Ghost of Tsushima on this PlayStation. And that number is a staggering 667 screenshots of this game.
Should have made that into a game for a giveaway.
We'll make it into like an art book.
Yeah, exactly. Print it out and throw it on the coffee table.
Yeah.
Have a nice little.
I tell you what, I'll be honest with you. I have whatever you said. I can't remember 667. I think of Ghost of Tsushima, and then I have maybe another 100 of all the other games I've ever played, and those 100 are all automatic trophy pictures that the PlayStation takes when you get a trophy. So I never use the photo mode in any game. Maybe a little bit in Spider-Man, but it seems like every time I turn a corner in Ghost of Tsushima, I'm like, okay, this is freaking beautiful. Like I have to take a picture of this.
the other issue is like it's not even the native PlayStation screenshot settings. Like it's Instagram on steroids. Actually,
sure.
the in-game Ghost of Tsushima like screenshot settings is deeper than the game settings itself, because like you can tilt, filter, add like the particle effects, you can increase like particle effects, you can control the wind speed, the wind direction. It is nuts. It's silly. I was just scrolling through all the settings. I was like, this is why Chad.
Yeah, well, I gotta be honest. Believe it or and now, so our listeners can see what I'm talking. I'll drop a couple of the pictures in our Discord, but a lot of those pictures, if not 99% of them, I just took in game, no filters, nothing. Because the game is just that stunning, and it's got up until this game, The Witcher 3 always had the most beautiful sunsets to me in a video game. They were amazing, but this, especially on the PS5, it blows The Witcher out of the water.
Yeah.
But as far as like now that I don't have that, having to waste my arrows and everything, it totally changed the way I play the game. Like I use the bow now. I have arrows all the time, and it's just it sounds ridiculous, but the game is really built around immersion. I mean the whole wind element to the game is for immersion, so you're not constantly looking at a mini map.
Yeah.
And for something that small to slip through, for me, totally broke the immersion. So BioCiv nailed it on the head. But so what do you think, Nick? Talk to me.
Of the game?
Yes.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, it's such a well put together game. And I would say it's more grounded in itself than The Witcher. Because like to me, The Witcher had like a certain like self-awareness problem where things like didn't blend well in my mind. Like things seemed kind of out of place at times, or like the scaling was off. But like this game, it just has it all like really finely tuned. I am a little annoyed with like the automatic like camera like zoom angle and like over the shoulder sometimes, because like I can't see as much as I want to see. That's like my only like drawback right now. But other than that, like the game is like crazy, and it presents itself in such an approachable manner. But I'm starting to get to the point where obviously like the enemies are getting tougher. It's putting me in like tougher situations, and I'm having to actually like pay attention to the combat, the combos. And the biggest so far, like the biggest thing I think I've been impressed with, outside of like obviously like graphics and like the overall setting, is the bamboo mini game, right? Where you're trying to strike through it. That to me just like brought back the idea of using combos on a controller in like a timed fashion that hasn't been around in a long time. Like to me, I don't know if it was the controller, because of the PS5 controller they knew they were working with, or what, but they really decided to hone in on like the art of using a controller with this game.
Yeah.
Which definitely is the insane part.
Yeah. Yeah. So I originally played the game on my PlayStation 4. That's what I originally played it on. And then it got a PS5 update when the PS5 came out, which pretty much gave it 60 frames per second. So when I was looking at like the specs for the PS5 director's cut, I was like, okay, well now it's 4K 60 FPS. I was like, I mean, it really was stunningly beautiful to begin with. So I don't imagine it's going to be that much more. I'm here for the arrow quiver and the DLC. That's why I'm buying this game, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you get into the PS5 one, man, I mean, and I've played the game 2 or 3 times before, so I know the game pretty well.
Yeah.
It's just everything is crisp and clear, and that controller, man, the stuff they added to that controller. If you want to talk about immersion, that controller brings immersion into this game like nothing I've ever played before. And I don't know, I don't think they're in the base game. I'll talk about Iki Island here in a couple minutes, which is the new DLC, and I'll try to keep it spoiler free for everybody. But one of the things they added into Iki Island was like using a grappling hook to pull trees down and stuff. So when you throw this thing, you feel it swinging.
Yeah.
You feel it hit the tree, and then the trigger, they like pump the tension all the way up. So you have to like legitimately struggle to pull it, and it like bounces, the vibrate bounce. It's like the most amazing thing I've ever felt in a game for something so simple. You know, it's like Mike's sound of a cutting tree. This is my version of that.
Yes.
And then the audio stuff that they added. So I know you've only played it on PS5, but if you hear the like swords deflecting and stuff on the controller, none of that was in the original game.
Okay.
So that's all PS5 stuff.
I feel like 30% of the audio comes through the controller. But it's done very intelligently to where there's elements of the same sound on like from the TV, and then there is the controller like sounds that kind of like back it up, whether it's the vibrations you're feeling it or the additional sounds that are just kind of like diverted to the controller to be more present in your face.
I was totally, you know, I love the way they use the controller just in the base PS4 as far as like cleaning the blood off your sword, swiping right, and all that stuff. I think that was so cool. You know, you just cut a dude down and swipe right on the D-pad, and he cleans his blood off and puts it back in the sheath.
Yeah,
it's just so, you know, you just feel like a badass when you're doing it. It is what it is, you know. So I didn't think they were going to be able to one up what they did with the controller, and then they brought me all the PS5 stuff, and it's like absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
So I made the mistake, unfortunately, of playing this game like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I restarted it and beat it. Oh, no. And then like right at the end of me beating the campaign, I didn't do any of the side stuff. They announced the director's cut, and I was like, crap. Well, I want to now I want to wait for that because they called out the arrow quiver. I'm like, I'm still complaining about it as I'm playing it now. So I lost my train of thought. I'm so googly-eyed over this game that I'm getting lost here.
That's hilarious. So I
I mean,
no idea what I'm about to say.
Yeah, you played it. It's like a month ago. They announced the director's cut. Okay. You didn't think they could one up it,
right? So this time, getting the director's cut, and I talked about it on the show. I paid full price for it because I thought it was the right thing to do. And I got to be honest with you, the people that are complaining that this game, the director's cut, is an upgrade of like $30, like you're wrong. I'm sorry. I would pay $70 for this game again. Sorry. So, and we'll get to that a little later in the show about the game prices, I'm sure. So, but so this time I was like, I had just beaten the campaign a month ago. So I was like, I'm just going to beeline the main story and then leave all the side content, because what I felt like Ghost of Tsushima was missing when it came as opposed, or like in comparison to The Witcher, was like a mass amount of stuff to do. The cool thing about The Witcher is you could like stroll into town, solve all their problems, get on your horse and stroll to the next town, solve all their problems. And I feel like, a lot of samurai, almost every samurai movie is like that. So, it has a samurai strolling into town and solving everybody's problems. So I felt like that was missing. So I felt like it would be a good opportunity to blow through the entire story, do Iki Island, and then start at the bottom of the map and work my way up and do all the side content. So I'm kind of getting to the end of Iki Island right now. And,
nice.
Another thing with the controller that they added for Iki, they added like a new enemy called a shaman in there. And I'll let you figure out what he does, but he has this like chant that he does, and it comes through the controller, and it's so eerie because you'll hear this thing, and while he's doing this chant, it changes the gameplay to a point where you need to take care of him pretty much first before anything else.
Right.
But as soon as you hear that chant on the controller, man, it's super eerie. I loved it.
Nice. BioCiv chimes in, says, Chad, have you considered the body accessories for further immersion?
I have not. No, I don't really even know what those are, to be honest with you.
Come on, Bio. He likes chicks, bro. No, I'm just kidding. I think they might have like a vest type thing, speaker things that, like, for haptic feedback and stuff.
Yeah. That is definitely cool. I think that's, I feel like the PS5 controller is kind of like that. You know what I mean? You're not wearing it, obviously, but everything that they're doing with it so far, even back in Returnal when I did Returnal, it's just you have to play with this controller to understand. It's really I can explain it till my eyes are bloodshot, but you have to feel it for yourself and experience it for yourself to see how ridiculously cool it is.
Right.
I mean, it's really cool to see it. Obviously, in game, it's way better in a game like Ghosts and everything. But I was even just playing the Astro's Playroom on the PlayStation 5, and it's really just like a showcase for the controller.
Right.
And that was just cool in that own sense because it just shows you all the cool but simple ways you can use the controller. Obviously, Ghosts implements it in a way different level. And the other thing, I mean, there's no HUD. And if there is, there's like very little, and only when you're in combat. And it's so minimal because they do so much through just the controller and just different game elements that you don't need it. And you more so feel it, sense it, and it just has a really good level of immersion.
Yeah.
Plus the story. They do such a good job because I kept thinking about when you were saying, like, I was looking for a really good like samurai game. I'm like, wow, like this thing just kind of came along and fulfilled that whole need.
Right. Yeah. I think so I play with expert HUD on, which even removes furthermore stuff off of the HUD. And even like, giving like what you're going to do with a button when it tells you to touch a button, like assassinate or whatever, it just removes that. So that's the best way to play the game, man. Cause I think that's how it's intended, so the wind element that I'm talking about is if you want to go somewhere, let's say you're on your way to a mission, you can swipe up on the D-pad and the wind in the game will blow in the direction you need to be going. So that removes, because and even like Grand Theft Auto kind of struggles with this a little bit, where you're just staring at the mini map. You're driving on the mini map. What I mean? You're not even watching what's going on. So I thought that was super. I think Assassin's Creed does something similar, but they like give you like directions, like he's on the island south of the big tree, yada yada yada. That's a little too immersive for me. You know what I mean? Getting lost in this giant world. I felt like the wind thing was a good way to kind of be in between.
Because it's always blowing where in the direction you need to go, so it's really obvious, and it is like everything's just over the top. Like there's leaves everywhere, there's particles in the wind, so like it's just like this constant like fantasy, almost like dream realm of like samurai fantasy.
Yeah.
And I'll probably try to play this game a whole second time, and that would be. I don't know if I'll do the difficulty bump up unless I get like really good.
Yeah.
But I will, but that will be to play it in like the black and white samurai film cover. And then also with no HUD, like you just said, that would be insane.
Yeah. So I played with the Kurosawa mode for a little bit, and don't get me wrong, I think it's awesome that they did that. It's really, really cool, but it's just masking such a freaking beautiful game with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is definitely cool, and it's good for like a second playthrough or something like that. As far as the difficulty of the game, I kind of would prefer it be a little bit more difficult. I don't feel like any of them are as difficult as I would like it to be. They have like a... hard mode is what I play on because they have like a realistic, I can't remember what they call it, but it's just too realistic to the point where they kill you with one shot and you kill them with one shot. So it's, I want to like fight my butt off. So I play on hard because I feel like that's the best balance between everything.
If it's one hit for one hit, I might like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's just, it gets very frustrating because you die a lot. Like you have to be literally perfect. And
I did.
Good.
I did do the opening scene in black and white with Japanese dialogue and English subtitles, because I was like, how much of a movie does this feel like? So that's definitely my second playthrough is going to be basically a Japanese movie.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, they actually added in like the Japanese like dub lip sync.
Yeah.
Which I heard that the PlayStation 5 does it itself, like it renders cutscenes in real time, so they didn't really even have to do anything. I don't know the kind of technology behind that, but yeah, it's not something that they added. The PlayStation does it itself. So
interesting. While you guys were talking about that, I looked up some of that Nintendo stuff I was talking about. Biosiv commented a long time ago, but I wanted to save it for this. He said they hate you for Mario content. Currently, a lot of streamers are getting live stream shut down and VODs pulled. And I found an article from 4 years ago, so it had been 2017. The headline reads, Nintendo bans YouTubers from live streaming games through Nintendo Creators Program. And then there was a thing where they were like demonetizing and taking all of the money made from streams because it's their property, right?
Jerks.
I remember that sparked a huge debate because it's like, yeah, it is, but like also these people are like basically free advertising for you. Like,
I mean,
that's always it's always like a fine line with that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the confusing thing, because that to me that falls on the idea of like a BMX bike. Like the BMX rider gets to make money because he's really good at riding that bike, and people like to watch him ride that bike. That's free advertisement. So It's not like the bike company's going to be like, no, we get all that money because it's our bike.
Right.
Yeah.
It's super. I mean, I get to a point why companies do it because they don't want like people giving them a bad name. But a lot of these people are not in the slightest doing that, right?
And
they're giving you.
I mean, I feel like that gives you a worse name than if someone was just like, "This game sucks,"
right?
But like being like, "Nobody can stream this game" is like, "Ooh, okay, that's kind of a little much."
I'm always weary of that. And I'm always weary of like reviews that come out a day before or a day after a game. Like something's wrong with the game if the review is not up the Monday before it comes out on Tuesday or Friday or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and then I found another article while I was trying to look for the one I just talked about. And this is from January of this year. Nintendo issues mass DMCA takedown, 379 fan-made games forcibly removed. So they go for it. But that just, again, is just like, how are these Pokemon fan-made games slipping through the cracks? I don't know. But I'm thankful for it.
Gotta be Niantic. Nintendo must not have a say in it.
Right.
Game Freaks.
I mean,
Oop. Mike froze.
So that's got to be kind of crappy for the people making the game.
Nintendo's coming after me.
Yeah, they are trying to shut your stream down. Should have stuck to Ghost of Tsushima.
I know, right? And then while you guys were talking to Biosiv through this in the comment about controller feedback, he said the only thing that I can imagine as far as controller feedback that makes you feel like, holy crap, is when there was a game called 1-2 Switch on the Nintendo Switch where you had a matchbox full of marbles and you would shake your Joy-Con controller and guess how many marbles there were in there.
Yeah.
They did that so amazingly that it really felt like marbles in a matchbox.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely that was kind of their showcase, I think, for the Joy-Cons, that game. So, yeah, I mean it's I won't say that it's on that level. It's different, you know. You can feel the tension in the bow. You can feel the tension in the rope when you're swinging. You can feel, you know, the clash of the sword in the triggers and hear it on the controller. It's
really jumping ledges.
Yeah.
Like
jumping ledges and riding a horse. You can feel even on different like surfaces with the horse, the vibrate gets like harder or softer depending on your grass or you know, rock or whatever you're on. So I don't know, man. I thought about this before I came down here. I think where I sit right now with this game is it might take over Sekiro for one of my top 5 games of all time.
Whoa.
And it was you know, here I go again. I'm going to say it again, but it was really the arrow quiver that was holding me back from putting it at that top spot. But just the like,
they wanted your top spot. They wanted it.
I know you're playing on a non 4K TV, right?
Correct.
Okay,
The
so
loser.
I know. Poor over
like,
here.
yeah, I tell you, even the jump from whatever they did between the PS5 upgrade and the director's cut is like noticeable to me. So I can only imagine if you put this game on a 4K TV, you're gonna be like blown away by it. If you're already blown away by it, stick with it. You know.
I mean, I've yet to be like blown away by a 4K TV because I really can't recall looking at many because they're just not in my life. So the first time I play a video game on a 4K TV, and I'll make sure that it most likely will be this game. So I can just like melt, and not exist for a while. Then
I can't afford a 4K TV. I got all these lights in here.
I know. I got the same issue.
Ran me dry, you know.
So one more thing before we jump off of this, because I know we're at like 40 minutes talking about Ghost of Tsushima, but I'm not done yet. I just want to know what Nick's thoughts on the time frame of the game, the time that it's set in, and the war that it's set around. What do you think about it?
I mean, I love it because it's based on like the Mongolian invasion of Japan, right? And it's kind of in like the waning era of the samurai. So they're kind of starting to lose that in the story a little bit, whereas like it's kind of like a bygone era, if you will. Things are changing. There's a lot of little story cues around that. But I mean, for a samurai game that wants to explore a assassin angle on samurai, I think they like pivoted that well into there because obviously samurai are not assassins.
Right.
And that's actually one of my favorite features is how they deal with that in game. And I also wonder, maybe like how dynamic are those like moments of reflection when you assassinate someone? Are they just like random or like are they like fixed?
I think a couple of them are fixed and a couple of them are random because a couple of them this playthrough, like for me, playing the game, I rarely sneak around and assassinate people.
Right.
Like I just run right in and just come fight me because I feel like that's the cool thing to do. The one thing I feel like the game could have maybe had was like a system, like a bar that would go back and forth depending on I can't think of what the name of it. You know,
I thought that's where it was going. Like it's like a Paragon like status
right. Exactly. Yeah, like from Mass Effect. So. A reputation
I thought that's where it was going when like because the one cutscene the one sensei, he was like, dude, that's not how we do things. So I thought like because I assassinated someone in front of him, like that would make his like thoughts on me like trend a different direction.
I mean I hope that and I'm sure we're gonna get a sequel. I hope in the sequel that they do something like that. I know it's kind of like a lost art per se in games now. Not a lot of games have a reputation thing. So, but I thought it would have been really cool here. You know, there are some things that change in the game depending on how you play, like the weather changes and that stuff. But so I thought the Mongol invasion was kind of a obscure thing to pick for a samurai movie because they have such a deep violent history with themselves that I didn't think that they needed the Mongol invasion. I thought they could have done, you know, like the Warring States, which is like hundreds of years after this game is set.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget that, like, or don't even know that, like, the samurai ran until like 1868. That's when the shogunate was overthrown, which is like Wild West times here. So literally up until that time, they were still swinging swords at each other. And it's just crazy that a lot of people don't realize how long it went. But it just felt like an obscure time to pick. I get probably why they do it because nobody else is probably ever going to do the Mongol invasion.
Yeah, I like it because it's like it's a weird thing that's never covered in games, right? So I'm happy to like play it in that respect. Obviously, Assassin's Creed could probably crack that wide open if they ever get over to Asia with their games. But I see what you're saying, but I think that would change the nature of the game and the story they were trying to tell because like right now it's kind of like the lone samurai savior kind of building his way back up and obviously it would be a big change in combat, because if you're like samurai on samurai, like that's a whole different, like
Right.
that's almost like a chivalry or like some other, it's a different game mechanic to deal
Yeah.
with. But it would probably translate well ish, like dodge.
Yeah, I think
It's-
that I'm hoping that they like
they should go backwards with a sequel, so do a prequel
do a prequel. Yeah, that would definitely be cool. I
about
I
like
know
his
that
dad.
Yeah, I know the Mongols invaded twice, so
Mm-hmm.
and within a relatively short amount, like 5 years or something. So
I
don't
think
know
they
if
got
like a
wrecked on the first
sequel-
one.
Yeah, well, this is so Ghost of Tsushima. I think is the first invasion,
Mm.
and then the second invasion I think was like 5 years later. So if they do a sequel, they might do that. I kind of hope that they go to mainland Japan and you just become like the wandering samurai going through mainland Japan. That would be super cool, I think. But I don't know. I thought it was a kind of obscure thing to pick, but I ended up loving it in the end, so I can't hate on it too much.
Yeah, I guess they just seen like one singular like bad guy, like enemy.
Right.
I didn't think about that. I just like it. I just like it for what it is, Chad. Come on.
Yeah.
No.
I hope you finish it, man. I really do.
Yeah, I hope that I finish it. I think I for sure will finish it. I hope I 100% it, and I hope I have a 4K TV by the time I play it a second time.
Yeah.
Maybe we can like crowdfund that through the
There you
podcast.
Yeah, sign up for our Patreon so Nick can get a 4K TV. Is that the only thing you've been playing, Nick? Or I think
No.
you might be playing something else.
No, I've been our everyone can basically say farewell to our What's Watching series for like a few months, because we're about to inundate everybody with gaming stuff. But I recently got the hot new 4X game, Civ, the Civ killer. It isn't going to kill Civ, but Humankind. I think I talked about that on another episode, just in anticipation of it. Definitely our strategy game episode a few months back, but yeah, it finally came out. So I've been playing that basically, more so just like training myself, learning the game, trying to understand the mechanics and all that. It's a very different game than Civilization. I would compare Civilization as like a board game tabletop, where it's like a master at just like it has its set of rules and it's well defined. And Humankind's a much more organic sort of game in a way, and they approach things in a way different manner. It's completely not balanced, and there's a lot of broken logic in it that just lets you steamroll the AI and weird things happen. It's obviously complex games like Civ is on its 6th rendition. For the past 20 years, that game's, or actually, 30 years, 25 years. So like Humankind has at least like 3 years of maturation for it to really kind of level itself up.
BioCiv says, I looked up Humankind and knew immediately that it was a Nick game.
It's a map game. It's a map game. That's what Eryn calls them. They're my map games.
Map games.
Makes sense. You do love yourself a good map.
I do. Especially when I get to make the map and kill my enemies.
Yeah. Man. Is that the only new game? Humankind and Ghosts of Tsushima?
Yeah, I think so. Man. And obviously I was on a little Valheim stint there.
Well, there's some news about Valheim.
Newscast.
You want to save it till then?
Nah, we'll say right now. I mean,
all right. Well, what's coming?
Hearth and Home, September
Finally.
16th. Coming here in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna be back from vacation on the 13th. Talk about timing.
I know.
Perfect timing.
You're gonna be able to peel yourself away from all the Pokemon games.
Heck yeah! Because let me tell you, okay, I know I've been talking.
You getting burned out?
No. No. But I have been talking to you about this, and I'm going to say it publicly now because it'll make us actually have to do it.
Oh, no.
But I've been tossing around the idea of a little Valheim co-stream with Nick
I'm
here
resisting.
on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook.
Yeah.
I think it'd be super fun. I don't know. We might start basically in a new world. I know Nick found a pretty
God
dope
seed. Yeah.
We still have our old stomping grounds. And of course, I mean, we still have the canal.
I would like to make some like tour videos, right?
Yeah.
That we've been talking about where we show the before and after. I think that would be good just to showcase, but obviously, yeah, like a code stream of us doing something in that game. Definitely, I think that's a good Hearth and Home update idea, because we can actually probably waste a lot of time just like doing all the new stuff. We need to update the northern front fort with all the latest stuff.
Yeah, we got to do that. I gotta see if there's new lighting for the canal. That right there will take like an entire week. But I think it'd be fun to get in there, do a little co-stream, explore the new seed, try to build some new crazy creations. But yeah, well, I think it's safe to say we're both pretty excited about Hearth and Home, because that's been on
came out in February.
Yeah, that's been on the roadmap that has since kind of been retracted for a long time. So I know
I was mad the like cinematic trailer didn't really have anything in lieu of what is actually in the update. It was just kind of like,
that's concerning.
Yeah, the trailer was really cool though. I got
yeah, good.
Reminded me a lot of Crossland, because he was our serpent. Well, he slayed a dragon, but he did sail on the high seas.
I was like, oh cool, they made a cinematic trailer of what we already did in the game.
Yeah,
we killed that boss, brought its head back. All right, cool, what are we gonna do now?
Right.
Yeah.
So was the game broken when it came out?
No.
It was like, why did they retract all the roadmap stuff?
Because there was like 2 people on their team. It was like it blew up and was widely popular, so they're like, oh, we should probably really polish this off, even though it was like already pretty polished.
It was a fully functioning game, and
is it legit 2 people?
It's 5.
No, it was very small.
It was legit 3 people.
Wow, that's impressive.
It was 2 people for the longest time. Then they finally brought a third person on to do like art and like objects and like finish all that out. And help out, and then it came out and they sold like 5 million copies at $20 a pop for a polished, working, pretty complete game.
Right.
They had a roadmap, and they were basically like, wow, if we drop something and it sucks, we're gonna get roasted, so we're gonna do it right. So they're doing it right.
To be fair, the roadmap was pretty huge.
Yeah.
So kind of, it sucked that they basically nixed the entire roadmap, and then they're just like, no, we're just going to release this one update.
I think it's like quarterly they wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot on it, but
with like 5 million copies sold, there's a lot of people pointing out a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
Also to iron out, and they were fixing them.
Yeah. With the bugs, like what you asked, Chad, they weren't like game breaking though. They were minor annoyances, and then they did just like a lot of optimization, because I don't think they thought that people would go crazy
for it. Yeah.
Building
like Among Us was the same way. It was like 3 people that made that game, and it like blew up.
Yeah, so I'm glad that it's finally happening, but I'm also glad that they took their time, and hopefully this update's pretty sweet, but I'm excited to get back in there and play. Yeah, so we talked about what we've been playing. So let's get into the topic at hand here, which is...
I have an interjection, though.
Okay.
Pause.
Wait. Before your interjection, I have an interjection.
Of yourself?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Eryn.
Oh, yeah. Shout out my wife, Eryn. Happy birthday to her.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
She's not watching, but she'll be very blushed that we wished her happy birthday on the show.
It's a thought that counts.
Yeah. She does a lot. What is this Black Myth Wukong video game? Has anyone heard of this?
Yes, yeah. So I looked. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it's the game that I'm thinking of.
I just
think
saw the
it's-
trailer popped up, and I'm now watching it because I was like, "Is this a Ghost of Tsushima like knockoff? Not knockoff,
No,
but
yeah. So I think it's actually more of a Dark Souls knockoff or Sekiro knockoff.
yeah.
I think it's supposed to be. Sorry,
You're-
my iPad started there. I think it was supposed to be it's supposed to be a Souls like. It looks really, really good.
Yeah, it's like Planet of the Apes. The dude's
yeah.
got
You play as like a
Neanderthal.
yeah. It's like a monkey. I think they called him like the Monkey King or something, and you fight through. What I was super impressed at the trailer was the snow mechanics in that. Like as he's
Yeah.
fighting through the snow, it just looks really, really, really good. But yeah, I think it's set in like yeah, I think it's supposed to be like I think it's a Chinese developer, so I think it's supposed to be like 16th century China or something ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Playing as like a giant monkey king. I know it sounds ridiculous as we're explaining it, but if you go watch the trailer, I promise you're gonna think it looks pretty cool.
Anytime I hear Wukong, I just think of League of Legends because there's a champion called Wukong. and
Listen,
he's
you play
the monkey.
Pokemon games now. You
He's
don't
the
think
monkey
about
king.
League of Legends. League of Legends is dead to you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. But my boys, Cloud9, they secured a
Shout
spot
out.
at Worlds. They're going to
Wow.
Worlds this year.
Wow.
Worlds 2021. They're still in the running for the Summer Championship too for the NALCS. So we'll see what happens the next couple weeks.
Good
They
for
are
them.
For sure going to Europe for Worlds this year. They missed Worlds, I think, maybe for the first time in the history of the organization last year. I could be wrong on that, but if it wasn't the first time, it was the first time in a very long time. So it's good that they're back in Worlds. But anyways,
The snow in this game looks crazy.
It does. It looks fantastic.
is that
I
the
also-
trailer you just posted in
Yeah.
chat?
Yeah. I also heard that they showed footage from the Uncharted movie during a behind the scenes sizzle reel. And supposedly
I need to finish that game.
the comments are you might as well wait at this point because aren't we doing like maybe we're not supposed to say. We'll save that for another day.
Yeah. In preparation for that,
Yeah.
one of you guys need to cough up a PlayStation 4. Just
Yes,
saying.
yes.
I
yes.
have one,
Now
and
there's
Chad also
two.
has one.
I have one, yes.
And
There's
to
two.
0.
To 0.
2-0.
I need to play.
Hmm.
Well, no, you can have my PlayStation, and Chad will give you his copy of
Yeah.
Uncharted because I need the copy to play it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good compromise.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually, I
Good
I
teamwork,
think that,
guys.
to be honest with you, I think it's on the PlayStation collection on the PS5. So I don't know if you
Oh.
have. I think you have to have PlayStation Plus to get access to that. But
I'm holding
maybe
out
not.
till Battlefield.
Yeah,
Saving me.
yeah. There you go. So I think it's on there. But yeah, I have a copy of it, and
Nice.
I'm pretty sure I mean, I can get it downloaded, so that's not an issue. But anyway, yeah, I think the comments about the movie were pretty positive. So I'm very,
Hey.
very excited to see.
Tom
I
Holland,
have-
right?
Yep.
Yeah, Tom Holland,
Old
Mark
Tommy.
Wahlberg as Sullivan, and I think, my expectations are like just somewhere in the mantle of the earth for this movie. But but
All the way
I'm
down there in
hopeful-
Gartha. Buddy.
yeah, I'm hopeful after reading some of the comments about the footage that was shown that maybe they're going in the right direction. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I love Tom Holland, and so I have some hope, not high hopes, but there's some hope there.
Yeah,
I
I
hope.
didn't when they cast him as Nathan Drake, I didn't see it. I was like, what the that's out of left field,
Mhm.
But then when they released the picture of him standing there, I was like, oh man, I kind of can totally see him being young Drake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
for sure.
I think the original plan was for Mark to actually play Nathan Drake, Mark
Probably
Wahlberg,
just took too long.
and it just took a little too long, and now he's Sully, which is hilarious. So
He's not that old. But,
yeah, well, I mean,
it's definitely older than young
he's
Drake.
getting older, yeah.
Still huge though.
So yes, I am very excited for this. I don't know how you say it. Saifu. It's a kung
Sifu.
fu game.
Yeah, it looks crazy.
It looks
Shaq Fu?
fantastic. I think I talked about it either on one of the E3 episodes, or it might have been the PlayStation episode that whatever their conference was. But it's a kung fu game where when you die, you age. Okay, so you die at 15 years old, you wake up at 20 years old. You die at 20 years old, you wake up at 25, and it just keeps going till you're like in your 60s, 70s. So
Dang.
I think it's like a time loop kind of game, kind of like Returnal, where you have to beat the game probably before you die of old age. If that's how it is, I'm all on board because it looks, I mean, the artwork's really cool on it. And, you know, I don't know how it's going to play. It looks like it plays awesome. So
Biociv says
Sifu.
Sifu.
Dias.
Sifu. Yeah, that makes sense.
Speaking of Sifu, I'm about to smash some at the Outer Banks. Just throwing that out.
Man, I am so distracted now. YouTube was just like, hey, look at this gameplay footage of Forbidden West, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Bring it in.
I'm trying.
All right.
Here we go.
We started, we prepped and had an intro for 1 hour, talked about everything we needed to talk about.
Yes.
Now
That
we
might
have
be
like
the longest intro we've ever done.
now we have like 4 other what's playings that are gonna spin off of this one. So tonight I updated the YouTube name to include more things in it.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Oh, nice.
So we're good there with some tags. So
Nice.
for the second half of the show,
Yeah,
Mike
well,
brings you
second, third of the show. We'll see.
Part 2
but yeah,
of 3.
Chad came up with a really cool idea of talking about some weird gaming history, specifically between Nintendo and Sony. I forget exactly how this came up, but it probably was me talking about playing Switch stuff, and that spiraled into a cool conversation. But today, while we were kind of texting back and forth and stuff, I kind of thought maybe this might be a cool little mini series that we might dive into from time to time, just finding interesting, weird gaming history stories or things to talk about every once in a while. So hopefully this is like the first of many future episodes going into interesting topics like this. But Chad pointed out that back in the day, I might get this wrong, but I'm going to try. Nintendo was trying to make some sort of like add-on for their system to play compact discs.
Correct.
And then something happened between who was doing that work for them, and they ended up breaking apart and forming Sony. Something along those lines.
Kind of. You almost.
Okay, I was close. All right,
You're
why don't you
close,
take
you're
it away
close.
there?
So
Chad?
so yeah, this is kind of like maybe a little lesser known. The origins of PlayStation, not Sony, but actual PlayStation.
PlayStation. That's
Yes. So up until like the late 80s, Sony really didn't have anything going on in the gaming industry except for supplying parts to various different consoles. One of them being the Super Famicom, which is obviously the SNES in America. And they had like I can't remember the name of the studio. I think it's ImageSoft Studios that developed games. But in 1988, Nintendo and Sony actually started a project together, which Mike kind of nailed, which kind of aimed to make a CD-ROM version of Super Famicom, or add-on for Super Famicom, allowing the system to play CDs as well as cartridges. So a Sony engineer actually became interested in games after he watched his like young daughter playing the Super Famicom at home, which I think is like such a humble little story. Like he's like got a light bulb in his head watching his daughter play video games, which I thought is super cool. So he took a contract with Sony to develop an audio system for the Super NES, and then he secretly developed a chip kind of behind the scenes. And this was kind of I believe the start of the CD-ROM add-on for the SNES. However, Sony's complete lack of interest in it and his superiors not being on board with it made it a little difficult for him. However, he found one supporter at Sony who happened to be the executive at the time, which obviously is a good thing, right? That's a good partner to have on your side.
Yeah.
So the executive allowed the project to continue, and this eventually led to Sony and Nintendo coming together to develop this thing. And now it gets really kind of wild from here and screwed up on Nintendo's part. So the initial goal of the project was, like I said, to do a CD-ROM add-on for the SNES, and then also have a Sony branded console that would play both SNES cartridges and this new Super Disc format. So Sony and Nintendo signed a contract in 1988 to pursue this disc option. The agreement saw Sony maintain control of the Super Disc, with Nintendo giving up a large amount of control of software licensing to Sony. Now, we know from earlier conversations on this podcast that they might be a little greedy, right? Even today, they might, a little bit.
Oh, geez.
So this didn't sit well with them. On top of this, in the same contract, Sony would also become the sole benefactor of any licensing related to music or movie software that they were aggressively pursuing as a second option for the CD drive. So playing movies and music and that stuff. So, which is obscure because remember, this is 1988. There weren't disc movies back then. So It's a little weird that they're already thinking about it back then. But Sony was already the sole provider of this chip that went into the Super Famicom, and they also required developers making games to pay a ridiculously expensive fee for a development tool. So, Nintendo sees their deal that they just signed, and they're like, wait a second. Like, who? What? Why did we sign this? We're giving up all our rights. They're getting all the positives, and we seemingly are just getting the CD drive, maybe. So, obviously, the president of Nintendo becomes wary of this entire thing. And around this time, he begins to talk to another partner for a more favorable option in Philips, which at the time was Sony's biggest competitor. If not the biggest competitor, one of their biggest competitors. So they sat down to negotiate a more favorable deal. What is that noise? Do you guys hear that?
Yeah, I do.
It's Nintendo. They're getting mad.
They're getting mad that I'm talking crap about them. It's fine because this is the rest of this here is kind of screwed up, and you'll see. Did you guys know this at all?
No.
Did you even know that they had made it? They were trying to do an add-on for the SNES or any of that?
No, but it seems very Nintendo-like that they would screw themselves out of some very forward-thinking technology or partnership. Because
being
the Switch might be the first Nintendo system that has like Wi-Fi on it, and it's
and it's like being a couple generations back.
Yeah, and they released the Switch. What do they call the new Switch Pro?
OLED.
Yeah, OLED, and it's 1080. Like, whoa, jeez.
Hey,
like,
thanks,
I think my
Nintendo.
Xbox 360 did that. But anyway, so before they shut our stream down, because they're obviously trying, let me get through this. So the negotiation obviously aimed to give Nintendo back a tight hold on the software while also really screwing over Sony in the process. So in June of 1991, at the Consumer Electronics Show, which I believe was pretty big back then, things took a pretty bitter turn between the two companies, and this is the most screwed up part. So Sony came out and announced the SNES compatible cartridge and CD console PlayStation. The very next day, Nintendo revealed their partnership with Philips at the show, shocking the audience and Sony, who had no idea about it. So,
what? Why?
Yeah. Because
Classic
I told you,
Nintendo.
because they are classic Nintendo. I mean,
Oh my god.
people say that like the weird decision started at the Nintendo 64 and then just continued after that, but it's not true, because if you look back at some of the earlier decisions, including this one, it's really
This is 88.
really odd. Yes, the conference is June of 1991, but the original project started in 88 between Nintendo and Sony. So
it's literally a head scratcher.
Yeah, right. So following the middle finger at the Consumer Electronics Show that Nintendo gave to Sony, Nintendo and Sony attempted to repair the broken bond. During this time, about 200 to 300 different prototypes for the PlayStation were made, which I actually didn't know that there were that many made. Eventually, an agreement was made that allowed Sony to produce the SNES compatible hardware while Nintendo maintained control over their games and the profits. However, the two companies never really repaired the relationship outside of this. So Nintendo also continued their partnership with Philips. This contract allowed Philips to use Nintendo's characters for its multimedia device, the CDI. Now, we're going to put a pin here and then we're going to pull it right back out. So
we talked acupuncture here on the podcast.
Yeah, we talked to Jordan last week where we discussed the 3DO games. You remember that? I don't remember if it was last week, whenever we were on here. And I was trying to figure out what game. I'm thinking that it wasn't a 3DO I had. I'm pretty sure it was a CDI because I looked up the pictures and I was like, that's what I remember it looking like. So I got to try and find the game because it's like a first-person ninja game. And it's really... So anyway, you probably never have even heard of the CDI because it was like a massive commercial failure. But that's why you find... I think there's a Legend of Zelda game on the CDI. I think there's maybe a Mario game on the CDI. So that's where that comes from. Those games came out of this deal where Nintendo allowed Philips to use their characters for the CDI. So by 1993, so now we're 2 years after the electronics show, Sony dropped out of further development for the SNES CD-ROM and instead decided to focus on its next generation console, which would launch in Japan on December 3rd, 1994, and that is the very first PlayStation 1. The Philips and Nintendo contract never developed a CD-ROM add-on for the SNES, which I think is hilarious. So they went through all this and, really threw slack at, threw mud on Sony's face in front of everybody at a pretty big expo, and then the project just fizzled out. But following the commercial failure of the Sega CD, Nintendo took notice and canceled its plans to further with another company or anybody else to develop a CD add-on. So the big game at the time that was supposed to come out was a Square game, and it was being developed for the SNES CD-ROM, and it was cut down, and I think pretty considerably, to fit onto a cartridge. And in that game is Secret of Mana, which I'm sure you've heard of. That came out on the SNES, and supposedly a lot of it was cut out to make it fit on that cartridge. So that is the little obscure history of how the PlayStation came to be. What do you guys think?
I don't think I realized. Yeah, typical Nintendo, I guess. All the way 30 years ago. Just sucking. I guess I didn't realize the PlayStation 1 came out in 94.
Yeah, in America, 94, yeah.
Okay, wow.
But the fact that they were thinking about essentially DVDs in
88
is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And I just love that is that literally is 100% Nintendo. Like DVDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, all this for everything is disc,
right. And they're still
and they're like,
have they ever? Oh yeah, I think the Wii used discs, right?
I think the Wii, I think they're like and the GameCube.
The little mini, the little mini ones.
So that really
it's a half disc. Like they finally get to a disc. You're like, but we're gonna use the little mini discs that we used that software for your I don't know. That was such a little niche flash in technological history of the mini,
Right.
just like, similar to the blue disc for the PS2. Like those like came and went so quickly.
Right. Yeah. And what were the PlayStation 1 discs? They had like that black bottom on it. Is that the?
Yep. Yeah, that was PlayStation 1.
Yeah. So I still have a couple of those actually. I'll have to take a look at them because I remember them getting like ridiculously scratched up no matter what you did because of that like high black gloss whatever they had going on the bottom of it.
Yeah, I forgot about that actually.
Yeah, I wonder what the story behind that is. If there's a reason that they're
because they went from
the bottom.
Didn't they go from those to the blues and then finally to just regular?
Just regular, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be right. Yeah, so when a lot of people don't realize this and even when you hear people talking about like, I know it was like a couple years ago, people thought that Sony and Nintendo were going to partner together in some way and really screw over Xbox, and I'm like,
Not
if
likely.
anything's possible, it's quite the opposite, and Nintendo would go with Xbox because.
Yeah.
This is, even though this happened a long time ago and people that are at the company, there's probably nobody at the company that was there when this all happened. But it's still, I guarantee you there's still animosity between these two companies, especially because the PlayStation came out and blew up. And it sells way better than up until the Switch, at least. I don't know how the Switch compares to PlayStation 4 sales. But up until then, they were blowing Nintendo out of the water.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, looking back at it in hindsight, like, man, the PlayStation. Look what the PlayStation became.
Right.
It is arguably now the greatest console.
Yeah.
And
isn't PS2 still the most sold?
The most sold, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it boasts arguably some of the best exclusive IPs, like critically acclaimed. It's just what it became, and just the fact that Nintendo just basically threw a tantrum and there's like, nah, we're good.
We got you.
Yeah.
Phillips.
The cajones to do it like they did.
Like,
that is so
brazen.
Messed up.
And really, when you look at the agreement, I mean, I can't believe that they ever signed it to begin with. You know what I mean? Because they were like giving up a lot, money, rights, everything. But then to turn around and do it like that, I mean, you agreed to that contract. It's not like they came and forced you to sign it. You know what I mean?
It just made Sony into a beast. That's all.
Restructure. I mean, people never heard of that.
Renegotiate. But instead, let's just put you on blast at a conference. Like,
I just imagine like the Sony dude being on stage, being like, "Look," and he's just like keeps looking out of the corner of his eye, like waiting for the Nintendo guy to come join him, and he like never does. And then he like gets off stage and he's like all bummed out, and he like looks across the hall, and the Nintendo guy's over there with the Philips guy, and they're doing their presentation.
Right. Yeah. I gotta imagine that's how it went. But you can actually get online and look up pictures. There are actual prototypes of this PlayStation console that was going to be branded. And it literally looks like a SNES, but it's got Sony PlayStation written all over it. And it's got a disc drive in it. I mean, it's literally the SNES controller. So it's pretty interesting to look at it because if I were to take, it's a little bit different than obviously than the SNES, but at least the controller, if I were to take it, the wording off and, not told you guys this story and told you to write in what was written on that, you would have never written Sony PlayStation on it because it looks, it's straight SNES.
Oh, wow. That looks really funny. Yeah, other than the little disc drive. I mean,
yep.
It looks so funny.
Super, it really does. It really does.
Oh man, yeah, that's just
not only the birth of PlayStation in such an awkward way, but I mean, obviously this wouldn't be the same like story if PlayStation it wasn't what it is today,
Right.
or even
Yeah.
historically. Like, to me, it's just been like a staple cornerstone in like the console forever, because it came after Nintendo found its niche as like a gamer's console. And then the Xbox obviously is much younger, right? That was Microsoft's answer to it. And to me, obviously the Xbox is a super popular, very successful console, but they've had their own Microsoft-esque, or Nintendo-esque blunders over the years, and even like tried to shift direction a little too soon, too weird with the Xbox One. Like, we're a media console with no discs.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, we still play games, like
Yeah.
we don't just sit around and watch Netflix anymore.
Yeah. I mean, PlayStation isn't free of their mishaps
Of
either,
course.
but
Yeah.
Right.
it is funny though to see basically like when the first Xbox come out, late 90s, mid 90s, I don't know.
2001.
2000, yeah.
Okay. So basically since the 2000s, Nintendo in the console wars basically like disappeared.
They went to sleep. Big sleep.
It's just crazy that what could have been, well, actually, who knows? I mean, who knows what could have been? Maybe, this add-on totally fell on its face, and then we have no PlayStation at all or anything of the sort. But
I like to think in some respect the Xbox exists because they saw the success Sony had with their breakaway console from Nintendo. Like, who knows, like, who would have been making consoles if it had gone the way it was. Like, I guess for some reason people just thought like Nintendo was the play, like they just made the gaming consoles and no one else really wants to get into the space. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think that's partly in. I mean, the gaming industry had like a huge implosion around the Atari time until the NES came out. So I think people were probably scared. Companies were scared to get into the gaming because of what had just happened to Atari, and that's another one that I'd like to get on in our series, is that whole debacle with the Atari, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was like the NES just had like almost like a monopoly on the gaming industry after they came out, and everybody wanted their games on the Nintendo console because it was the console to have, and they kind of shot themselves a little bit in the foot with this entire thing, because theoretically speaking, if they never did that, we might not have a PlayStation. We might not have a Sony PlayStation today. They might be partnered with Sony or with Nintendo permanently, or just get a bad taste in their mouth with the game industry and bail out entirely. So I always like, alternate history stuff, and especially when it's like stuff like this, I would love to know like what would have happened if that the Nintendo guy went with Sony that night.
Let's go. We'll call up Doctor Strange, see if he can show us. By the way, I don't know if any of you have seen the
can we talk about that
trailer? Yeah, we can talk about it in a little bit. Just one thing. Maybe we could do an episode on this too, because this is one of my favorite consoles that sadly did not stand the test of time. But the Dreamcast, like, first off, poor Sega. Like they also just like got taken out to the barn and put down. And I don't even know like what I was not a Sega person. I had a Super Nintendo and then went to PlayStation. But I did dabble with a Dreamcast for a short time and had a ton of fun playing like some of the Sonic games, NFL 2K games. I remember distinctly the NFL 2K games being awesome because like the dude, you could like pull your hamstring and he would like hobble around and hold his leg. I'm like, that's like groundbreaking. It's so crazy. But my favorite thing was like the video memory cards that you'd slide into your controller, and when you're playing NFL 2K, you could call your plays on the controller, so your split screen person couldn't like see what you're trying to run. But I'd say I forget what they were called, but I loved using that the memory card as basically like a Tamagotchi pet for the Sonic games. I forget what the little things that you could like raise on there, but it was so fun. But yeah, that system did not barely last.
It's weird because they had a lot of well, I won't say they had a lot of popular games, but they had some popular games on there, and there are a couple consoles throughout history that I think were kind of ahead of their time, and that might be one of them.
That
You
probably
know
was
what I
one of
mean?
them. Yeah.
So
But yeah, Nick threw a comment up here, and there's been quite a few since we've been talking, so we can burn through those. But Biosiv says Sega Saturn came out at $399, and at that E3, Sony came out and said $299 and walked off.
yep.
Burn.
Old Sega Saturn. Underfunded scientist says GameCube's discs were adorable. Yeah, they're like little mini bagels. Little bite-sized games there for you. Biosiv says, true story. If you used a Sharpie to color in the black disc PS1 games after they got scratched, they would work again.
Really?
I did not know that.
Interesting.
But
I think I knew that.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And Michael Janus says, used to use toothpaste. 100% worked. Made me nervous every time, though.
I've heard that, though, yeah.
That would make me nervous too, but that's awesome that you guys were able to find these like hacks to fix scratch discs. Biosip says toothpaste worked as well. Last chance before refacing those discs was flipping the PS1 on its top to get those scratch games. Dang, dude, what did you guys do to your games? Like,
yeah,
good lord. Michael Janis says Xbox took online to a new level. Very true.
Yeah.
I remember PlayStation 2 like having the worst online capabilities for sure.
Yeah, but it had it had like one of the most popular online games, which was SOCOM. So that was kind of the start of, and it came with like a headset. Like that game was just cool, man.
Yeah.
It came with a headset and,
I have to say that like out of the big three, we'll call them, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, they all have their like pillars in gaming history, right? And honestly, gaming wouldn't be what it is today without the contributions of all three. I mean, clearly, Super Nintendo made gaming, or even the regular Nintendo, but like made gaming very mainstream. And then Sony taking it to the next level with disc gaming and the polygon graphics and like everything that they did. And then like Mike says here, Xbox big contribution really was like that online play, like Halo making online FPS games, benchmark in gaming, right?
When the Xbox dropped and simultaneously really with Halo, like it just took the gaming industry to a new level, and like PlayStation and then Xbox were like out of sync in their steps, like they were doing different things. But like, I mean, I remember like the nightly news was talking about like violence in video games, and Halo was cited, and meanwhile Halo's like mostly purple alien blood, and it's just like, all right, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, has anyone played like Metal Gear 2D? That's pretty violent.
Yeah. I just also love how Microsoft and Sony both like Tanya Harding Nintendo on their way past.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like Nintendo's 100%. Just now getting through physical therapy. Like, with the Switch.
I'm always curious of what had happened had Xbox not made the Xbox One blunder of that entire E3, which I will say was one of the most entertaining E3s I've ever watched my entire life, because it was a literal ass whooping from beginning to end. I mean, there's no nice way to put it. I mean, they came out and I think they showed like one game Xbox, and then Sony came out, showed all games, and they were $100 cheaper. So it was like, holy crap. But like we said, they've both made their missteps. I think one of PlayStation's big missteps was the price of the PS3 when it launched, which was we'll get to later
like a
here.
Cool $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, it was absurd. and so they've all made their missteps, and they've all kind of regained from it, especially now that the Switch is out. I think Nintendo's kind of trending up. I'm waiting for them to make some really obscure, weird decision because it's Nintendo. But I think they're at least in the right lane now.
Well, after everything that we've just said, the only console I own is a Switch, so
right. and you're begging to borrow our PlayStation.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I'm still a PlayStation guy at heart. It's just the mobileness of a Switch is too hard to pass up at the stage of life I'm in at this moment.
Yeah.
But even Nintendo, after PlayStation and Xbox came out, they come out with the Wii and they like revolutionize the motion control stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, Microsoft and Sony kind of make it a little better. But then, so even, later, more recently, I should say, Nintendo's still making contributions to what gaming is today. And I think still, they're the only one that has a good handheld portable system like Sony tried.
Yeah, that to me is so weird because throughout history, handheld wise, Sony has never let that market just go to Nintendo. They've always had something. So part of me wants to think that they've got something working, but then before we started recording today, I can't remember if somebody on IGN posted an article. I can't remember. Some gaming site, the guy said that he played like 12 hours of his PlayStation 5 on his iPhone. I was like, oh yeah, wait, I forgot they have that remote play app where you can remote play to your phones and stuff. So I don't know if that's why Sony's just letting it go by the wayside.
Sony taking portable gaming to the next level.
Yeah,
just stream straight from your PS5.
Yeah,
but there was like right after the Switch launched, Sony. I can't remember exactly how it came out. I think it was a patent that they put out, and it was for a handheld. If you look at it, it's literally the Switch. I mean, it's the PlayStation version of the Switch.
Yeah.
So I mean, disconnecting controllers and everything. So
the Sony change.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, at least I hope that they have something in the works because
the swap.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. That'd be hilarious.
The Sony swap.
You know what they should do? They should partner with Philips in some ways. Philips even still around?
Yeah, they make light bulbs.
Oh, okay.
Like GE. They make my toothbrush is Philips.
Oh, really?
My
That's
Sonic
hilarious.
Wave toothbrush. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
They make TVs still too.
Yeah, but
Maybe.
I think they're always in the busted section of Best Buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I did my stint with a Vita.
Yeah,
what was the first one?
The PSP.
Just the PSP.
Okay, so it was the Vita then.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun playing like Guacamelee on it. It was really cool.
Oh, Guacamelee.
Guacamelee.
Yeah.
Dude, that game
It's such a
was
fun
awesome.
name.
Yeah. So that's another console I think was kind of ahead of its time was the Vita because and it just didn't get the support from Sony that it really deserved outside of the first like month that it was out.
Yeah.
And then after that it was all like indie games, but
yeah. But yeah, it's still cool to see how even to this day they're all three pushing the gaming industry forward in some way. But back to the comments. Underfunded Scientist says, yeah, man, I love Dreamcast. Me too, buddy. Mike, he says, what was the Sega that required discs? I believe Saturn had discs, right?
And the Saturn, yeah, that was... But there was something, I think there was something before the Saturn that Sega did. And I thought I said it. Was it like Sega CD or something like that? Maybe that was the Saturn. I can't remember. But yeah, the Saturn was discs.
Biosiv says PS2 had an attachment for online. Only bought that for SOCOM and Twisted Metal Black. Twisted Metal was so fun.
Everybody bought it for SOCOM, yeah.
Many a nights having sleepovers with my buddy, either playing nothing but Twisted Metal all night and not sleeping, or like simulating through seasons in Madden, whatever that year's Madden is franchise mode. Underfunded said, dude, Twisted Metal Black was such a good game. If you guys have listened to the newscast lately, they're making a Twisted Metal series?
TV series. It's a TV series, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out. But for all you Twisted Metal fans,
we like our game, but I guess the series does. Yeah, no, we need a game.
Yeah, that's one of the games that like it's
Well,
like making Mario into a 90s movie. Like
Like
it's
the-
just not gonna work, you know.
The fact that Rocket League now exists, like just think of
Right.
Twisted Metal, but
Yeah.
Rocket League like modernized version.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's
Slacking.
yeah.
Like why haven't we
it's
had a
so
Twisted
obscure.
Metal game in the past 20 years?
Dude,
Like what's the
it's
deal?
such a good game.
Travesty.
Biosiv then says, love the PS3 60 gig first gen, only true backwards compatible version of the PS3.
Yep.
Definitely.
So Mike, what Madden game did you say? What were you playing it on?
85. No.
No. I wasn't even born yet, sir. I know I'm old, but not that old. I don't remember. It was various Maddens because I was you remember Dave from Martin. Yeah, it was me and him. Like
Dave.
we were best buds basically from like 6th grade up until like handful of years after we graduated high school. But yeah, back in middle school and high school, I would just we'd go have little slumber parties, me and Dave, you know.
That's
and
cool.
all we do is play PlayStation and whatever that year's Madden was, and we would there's Nintendo again.
Yeah, super weird.
Is that me?
I thought that
we're
it
gonna
was
blame it on
me,
you.
but I'm muted.
We're gonna blame it on
anyone
Nick, but me.
and
It's
Nintendo.
definitely not me.
Fun fact, those all night gaming sessions, that was what me and Michael Janis there in the chat did.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
nice.
Nice.
Yeah, we would when the option became available, we would each create a team, like create a new team, replace an existing team. We'd have the fantasy draft. We'd simulate all the games except for when we played each other, and then we'd go through the off season, and then we would just do that for like 10 seasons.
Oh, that's super cool.
It was so fun.
I tell you, I like one of my fondest gaming memories is playing Madden 2001, which was the first, I believe, the first one on the PlayStation 2. So PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 at Circuit City, like on their little display thing. Yeah. Dude, it was like, and I went back and watched a video of it like a couple months ago. It looks horrendous now, obviously, but back then, man, you could like see the definition in the muscles, and I was like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
like this is so
crazy.
So
real. I can't. It'll never get more real than this.
Right. Now my wife just said she was watching me play the new Madden the other day, and she's like, you can see like their veins and the sweat dripping off. I'm like, yeah.
Is this a real game?
Yeah.
Some shots, and the new Madden's like some of the like up high shots of the field, it literally looks like you're watching an actual game.
Yeah, it really does. Crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, back then the players kind of looked like Minecraft characters.
Yeah,
we were all like, "Oh my god, it's so real."
They looked like they had like giant shoe boxes on his shoes. They were just square shoes. Yeah. Do you guys remember NFL Extreme? I think it was called. It was
Blitz?
like not Blitz. It was the competitor to Blitz.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't remember exactly who made Blitz, but I think it might have been EA Sports that made NFL Extreme. But when that game came out, you used to, if you did like a spin move right at the right time, you could get your jersey ripped off, and then you just had your shoulder pads on. It was like the coolest friggin' thing in the world when it happened, because it rarely happens. So
that's awesome. Yeah, tons of good memories. One last great memory of gaming with Dave and also you, Chad, was when we worked at Fred Martin, and on our lunch breaks, we'd either come back to my house or go to Dave's house, and we'd just play FIFA.
Yep. I tell you what,
FIFA was so good.
Dude, so good. And that was like my introduction to FIFA too. I had never played it up until I played it with you guys.
Me
either. Never. And I had a blast.
Thanks to Dave.
Yeah, I had a blast. Soccer. I hate soccer too, but now I'm like, I mean, I play FIFA pretty frequently now, and it all stems from that, from those lunchtime.
Yeah, those were the days. Those were the days. But Biosiv says PSP was so good, all the modding and Crisis Core was amazing. And then Biosiv answered our question, Sega CD. So Chad was correct. Don't know why I got so loud there. Underfunded Scientist says, I seen that. Seriously, I hope they stick to the stories. I'm not. It's been a while, so maybe he's talking about the Twisted Metal TV series thing.
Yeah.
he then also says, I loved how much they connected. I'm thinking Twisted Metal stories still.
Yeah.
BioCiv says if they made a series, they would have to make each episode individual to each character, like watching Black.
Yeah,
Dude, that actually is a great idea.
That's a fantastic
I
idea.
just want to see how Axel became Axel. Like, he was the dude who basically had tires for hands.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because that
is it going to be a live action show?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd have to find the article later while you guys are talking. I'll do that.
I mean, this is kind of what gives video game movies and TV shows a bad name, because they pick games like this to make movies and TV shows out of.
Right. Well, hey, I mean, the new Mortal Kombat movie apparently was good. I haven't seen it yet, but
it was okay.
Oh,
which is a huge success for gaming movies.
True.
So just the fact that it was tolerable.
Right. That's another like transitioning that story to a movie. Just it's not going to sit right with audiences because it's so crazy.
Yeah, it's such a weird pick.
Yeah, it really is. It makes no sense.
But I like BioCiv's idea. That would be really cool to see how they became those characters.
For sure,
would be super interesting. Underfunded science, almost it would be great as like an anime or animated type show.
That's how most, like, I feel like Zelda would be awesome as an animated series. Mario would be awesome. That's how most video games would do.
Yeah,
a la Castlevania, which is fantastic. It's an anime. So honestly,
Zelda would. I mean, the games are kind of childish, but you could totally pull off like a Witcher type series. I mean, because it's like fantasy type stuff. But yeah, for the majority of games with all these crazy stories, like making a cool animated show would definitely be the way to go.
Right.
Underfunded scientists said that would be amazing, and we agree. BioCiv, you should be hired. Underfunded scientists also says, is that the one where you could slam people in? Dang, I wish maybe he's talking about the NFL Extreme game. This is one of my favorite mini games during the podcast when we get behind on comments, trying to figure out what they're talking about.
Favorite mini game.
Yeah. And then BioCiv says bad game movies, Monster Hunter, Blood Rain.
I've never seen Blood Rain. I saw the trailer of Monster Hunter and was like, okay.
Monster Hunter movie.
What's the words right out of my mouth?
Yeah, what is her name? What is
Mia something of it?
Yeah, here. If she's gonna be in a video game adaptation, you can almost certainly guarantee it's gonna be terrible.
Yeah,
so just leave that there.
Because I know this will probably make BioCiv mad, but I hated the Resident Evil movies so much. And
yeah,
I mean, it's not all her fault.
No.
But she was in it, so now everything that she's in, I associate with
Resident Evil. Yeah, the first one I thought was okay. It was good, but I know a lot of people were like, after leaving the theater, like, what? Like, kind of was a little bit Resident Evil-esque, and they had some elements, but just tell the freaking story in the game, and you would have an amazing movie or series. But these guys want their creative freedom for whatever reason.
Got my fingers crossed for the upcoming Netflix series and the upcoming reboot of the Resident Evil franchise.
Yeah, they just released like the anime. I think there's like an animated Resident Evil series. Trailer looks awesome. Like that. If you're gonna watch a Resident Evil movie, those animated ones are what you want to watch because they're really good.
Yeah, they have the animated one, then they have a live action series coming to Netflix, and they have like a reboot of the film franchise. So
yeah, I saw the series. I think was supposed to be like it takes place like 20 years after the T virus, and it's like the children of all the people from the game living. It was like, okay, it sounds exactly like the movies, so I'm out on that. But but
I think what I've read about the live action series is it's going to be like kind of like two stories, one like current day, and then one like in the future, like you're saying, or maybe they're two separate series. I don't remember. There's so much like Resident Evil series reboot and stuff all being announced at the same time. It's hard to keep track of what's straight.
They showed a screenshot or like a set photo of Raccoon Police Department, like the gate outside from Resident Evil 2. Yeah. So it makes me think they're at least telling that story somehow. I don't know if it's going to be in a flashback, kids remembering the horrors that their parents went through or whatever they're going for. But
that was my favorite game.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
But back to Mia Jovovich. She was actually in a great movie, The Fourth Kind, which I think Michael Janus talked
Oh
about
yeah,
in
that's
the
the
comments
alien. Yeah.
one of these times. But that movie is like actually just thinking about it right now, I have the goosebumps because that movie is terrifying and
For sure.
disturbing, and I love every second of it, but it still freaks me out. But yeah, a few more comments and we can get back to podcasting. Bios says, hey now, Resident Evil movies suck, but the first one is pretty sweet. Agree to disagree, friend. But I'm glad you loved it. That's all that matters. And the soundtrack was a serious purchase. Sorry it took so long to get to those comments, guys, but once you get Chad and Nick going, there's no stopping that train.
That's true.
That's true. But yeah, I liked that story of Nintendo and Sony. That was really interesting. I think we'll definitely have to do more stuff like this in the future. I think there's a lot of options for like weird gaming stories or facts or history.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, we'll try to make this like a not like every week series, but like a maybe once a month or so. Maybe we'll throw a cool weird gaming history episode at you. But I know there was another topic we might get into tonight, and we have time. We're not at 2.5 hours yet, so
True.
Yeah,
This
I think
one might
we
not
got
be
time
too
for that conversation, and then like some answer the boys
yeah,
segment there at the end. So I think
we did get some replies in there, so we'll definitely be seeing what you guys say in Discord.
Yeah, I think we did pretty good with our time so far.
Yeah.
Tsushima took up like an hour, but the Sony thing, you just kind of fly through it.
Yeah,
It's not that long of
facts.
a detailed story.
All facts,
right?
yeah.
But I'm going to. Do we want to go now to the
interjection?
Next? Go ahead.
So this is great. So Nick has his like obligatory Star Wars segment, Star Boys, on like all of our newscasts and stuff. I have my obligatory like DC talk all the time, and now your obligatory talk every time you're on the show is Ghost of Tsushima.
It's seeming that way. Yes, it's seeming that way. Yeah.
Anyways,
I did want
just quick observation.
I did want before we do this. Can we touch on the Spider-Man trailer?
Oh yeah, totally forgot about that. Let's talk about that, please.
What's watching episode 51?
Yeah, quick shift. Let's go.
So, go ahead, Mike. I want to know your guys' thoughts first, because I'm very opinionated maybe on this.
Okay, so I already know what Chad's going to be angry about, and that is that it's again not really a Spider-Man movie, but Spider-Man is just being a plot device to move the MCU forward.
Right.
Which I totally get. The thing, I like the trailer. I'm super hyped about it. But I'm confused, and I have a theory.
I have the answer.
But I was really confused by how willy-nilly Doctor Strange was just like, yeah, sure, I'll cast that spell for you. Because
I have a kind of a theory on that too.
Yeah. It took me like a couple hours after watching the trailer to get over that, like, what the heck? And then I was like, oh, I think I know what's going on. But yeah, I was very jarred when I first watched the trailer, and I was like, there's no way Doctor Strange would do that. He's not acting like himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's hear. We'll start with Nick's theory, and then I want to hear your theory, Chad, and then we'll go to my theory, and then I'll let you rant about the trailer. So
yeah,
Nick, what's your theory?
I'm not entirely versed on all this stuff per usual, but I did read a cool bit about Doc Ock's, like the color of his like claw things, like they're red, which means that's when they had control of him. So the idea is like that moment where he pops through is like splicing right into that Spider-Man movie that came out all those years ago.
Yeah.
So like it's all in that same like segment as like all that stuff collides. I thought that was a cool detail that people picked up on, because that like specifically ties Doc Ock to a moment in that movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, they're not just kind of throwing throwing everybody that's ever played in a
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie
Yeah.
into like some kind of collision sequence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was also upset about the Doctor Strange thing because I was like, what's going on? Because like he doesn't, that's not at all. The Doctor Strange has to be left him. I don't know if it's like some sort of like time thing or if it's actually not him. Like there's weird stuff going on.
I'm anxious to see what Chad thinks is going on.
Yeah, so
just the theory. We'll get into your opinions on that after.
I think that it's one of two things. Well, one of three things. I think it's either what are the shape shifting dudes that can discuss? It's either a scroll, okay, which would be totally MCU-y because they're doing a Secret War thing, right?
True. Yes.
It's either that. It's either Doctor Strange. I can't remember who said it. One of the people from Marvel said he's very cocky. He's the most powerful he's ever been, and he's just being overtly cocky and doing the spell he knows he shouldn't do. Or there's some sort of behind the scenes player doing this. And I'll get to that later in my theory on this entire trailer, because I think it's, it might be going in a crappy direction for a lot of people. So I think it might be another character maybe that's either controlling the outcome or Doctor Strange, period. But yeah, I felt it was weird for him to be so willy-nilly. But
so, my theory is your last theory. And I think maybe this might be the time that we are vindicated from being bonered all those series ago in WandaVision, when everyone thought, Mephisto was going to be making an appearance in WandaVision. According to things I've been seeing, this movie is following kind of a Spider-Man story where a similar thing happens, and he basically makes a deal with Mephisto. I don't know if it was knowingly that it was Mephisto or not, but to basically do what he's asking Doctor Strange to do here in the trailer, where he wants, his identity as Spider-Man to be forgotten, except for, by his best friend and Aunt May or whatever. And, he makes deals with Mephisto, and then all this crazy stuff happens, which looks exactly to be the plot of what's going on in this movie, where Peter Parker wants his identity to be concealed again. So he goes to Doctor Strange and asks him to basically erase the knowledge that Peter Parker is Spider-Man from everyone. And then things go crazy. So I think while Doctor Strange, in every appearance we've seen him in the MCU so far, he's had his little quirks and like goofy moments. He seemed way too goofy in the footage we were shown for me to really believe that it was actually the Doctor Strange that we know. Right. Even if you account for the hubris and cockiness of Doctor Strange, it's still like, still for the most part, he's a pretty serious character, especially when people have asked him to do things. Like when, Thor asked him to help out, he was, pretty kind of hard to convince to help Thor. And then especially when Iron Man, Tony Stark was asking him to help out there in Infinity War and Endgame, he was very reluctant and kind of a giant pain in the neck to help out there. But then the fact that like, Peter Parker just rolls up like after class one day, he's like, "Hey, can you cast this spell so everyone forgets I'm Spider-Man?" He's like, "You got it, bud. Let's go."
right.
Just like that just doesn't make sense. So either Mephisto, maybe he's like possessing or controlling Doctor Strange, or maybe he has disguised himself as Doctor Strange. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird that the sanctum there is just completely covered in snow and ice. And
right.
I don't know. Maybe it's like the ninth ring of hell, frozen. I don't know. I'm just
interesting. Yeah. So that was the theory I kind of said that I was going to wait a little bit, is the Mephisto theory, because, and I think it's even maybe intentionally teased in the trailer with the Peter Parker devil porn picture. I gotta be honest with you. The story that you were talking about is Spider-Man One More Day.
Mhm.
which is the Mephisto story where he tries to correct Aunt May dying
Yeah, that's it.
and his identity, which is revealed in the comic version of Civil War. But it is a very divisive story because it was their way of retconning Spider-Man and backtracking on all the crazy decisions they made with him, and some of the ones like marrying Mary Jane, which was wiped out, I believe, in this storyline too, which infuriated a lot of people. So it's it's just a freaking obscure thing to pick for a MCU movie. I just don't, I
Yeah.
don't get it. I don't.
I mean, it makes a little sense because then they can use it as the tool to drive the multiverse cracking open, right? They can use that
Yeah.
as like the cosmic event or whatever. But
Right.
I think, we had a lot of hints of Mephisto and WandaVision clearly, and then we got completely the rug pulled out from under us. But then even in Loki, we've had a few hints here or there. I mean, specifically, I'm thinking of the giant shot of the stained glass portrait of a devil character that was on screen for like several seconds that literally had nothing to do with the story of Loki. So it's just kind of like, I feel like they that's what they do. They like tease things for quite a while and then things get introduced. So I wouldn't be surprised if we've been teased with Mephisto for those two series, and then he finally makes an appearance, maybe in a the third installment or something. I don't know. That's just kind of like my working theory, and some people on the internet's working theory. But other than that, I'm really excited for this. I can't wait for the multiverse to happen. I think it's going to be a game changer. But Chad, to your point from before, like I do feel bad for Spider-Man. Like,
yeah, man,
he just can't get a just straight up Spider-Man movie.
No, you can't, and it irritates. It's to the point really where I know a lot of people would be upset by this, but I would not be upset with Sony taking Spider-Man back. Because it's just like, okay, we get it. He loves Iron Man. I don't know if I sent you guys a picture, but I found a picture from all of the different iterations of Spider-Man. It's the first one is Tobey Maguire taking a picture of, what is it, Kirsten Dunst with his camera, Andrew Garfield taking a picture of whatever her name was, and then the new Spider-Man taking a picture of Iron Man with his phone in Homecoming. So that's how I feel about this. It's just like this. I'm concerned a lot with everything going on here. I'm concerned that they're going to try to bring Iron Man back for some reason. That's a huge concern of mine because I just want him to die and be, out, at least Spider-Man movies. Just get out of here. We don't need you. And then I don't want Doctor Strange in this movie. If he's in the first 20 minutes and he just causes the issue, okay, I'm cool with that. That gets your theory out there.
Definitely a team up movie. It looks like
it does, and I hate it. Oh my god, I hate that because it started the MCU Spider-Man started out so good with Homecoming. Like everything about Homecoming, I loved.
It was such a good movie.
It's the first time we see like little things like his eyes emoting, squinting and stuff, like little things like that. And then at the end of the movie, they kind of teased what seemed to me like possibly a Sinister Six team up with Vulture and what I assume was Scorpion at the end in prison. So it seems like that is just lost. It's gone. Now, may Vulture return in the movie and Scorpion? I certainly hope so. But it does look like we possibly might get a Sinister Six movie out of this. But I think it's going to be a multiverse Sinister Six. And even looking at like some of the rumors and stuff, I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And then this trailer all but confirmed that, for me at least Tobey Maguire is going to show up in this movie at some point. Probably Andrew Garfield too.
Yeah.
I don't think they bring the villains over without bringing the Spider-Man over, even if it's for like a 2 or 3 minute scene or 5 minute scene real quick. But yeah, I mean, I I got excited when I saw Doc Ock's arm, like BioSiv said here, and the Green Goblin grenade, the laugh. I got excited for all of that. It's just, I was worried about hearing the multiverse stuff in the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield stuff because it's just going to spew into another MCU Spider-Man movie, I believe.
Right.
But it will be cool. Into the Spider-Verse is like probably one of the best animated movies I've ever seen in my entire life, and that is really a multiverse story. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. It just seems like they set a lot of stuff up in the past movies, including, Chameleon, which was hinted at in the last movie. Who's the bus driver had the same name? I don't know.
They
if
just like dropping
nod,
Easter eggs.
If that was what it is, yeah. I mean, I just want a Spider-Man movie.
It does suck though, because I mean, I'm trying to think of the solo movies that we've gotten recently. So Black Widow I haven't seen yet, but we had Captain Marvel, which was a pure Captain Marvel story. But I don't know, post Endgame, are we kind of done with the Captain Americas, the Iron Mans, in terms of solo movies, or are the movies now moving forward going to be more of a reaction or tie-in to previous events, with Far From Home being basically Spider-Man dealing with the loss of Tony Stark,
right?
Yeah, I've posited a pitch for using the Disney Plus series to be those things, to be those MCU plot driving devices, and you leave the movies still for the Spider-Man story, the Captain America story, and then you still have your Avenger team up movies, right? And you can have a character pop in here and there for a little team up, but we do need to still have those movies focused on the main character, right?
Right.
And
really, to a point, at least in the Spider-Man movies, they've done that. The movies that we've gotten, although they're very MCU-y, they are a Spider-Man. The last one, Far From Home, was a Spider-Man movie. It had a lot of MCU crap in it, and it irritated me beyond recognition that Mysterio was an ex-Stark employee, which is so MCU that it hurts. You know what I mean? Come on. Yeah. Does everybody have to be tied to Tony Stark in some way, shape, or form in this kid's life? It just irritates me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I might be in the minority, but
I love Jake Gyllenhaal, so I just loved him as Mysterio.
Oh, for sure. So yeah. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, and I loved him in the movie. I mean, the dream or the sequences were awesome, man. Yeah. They were awesome.
But it's great though that his character was even a menace to Spider-Man posthumously.
Yeah,
I probably said that word wrong, but what's new?
It looks like even from the trailer for this new movie that it's picking up literally right where that one ends, as you see him and MJ flying through the town with his all his stuff up in Times Square. But I'm excited because it's in New York. I feel like that's another thing that's kind of lost in the Spider-Man MCU movies. We go to Washington DC, we go to wherever the heck they went in Far From Home. Just going to New York. Tell me a New York story,
Right. Yeah. Underfunded says, I'm so behind on superhero movie. It hurts. Me and Amber were talking about binge watching a bunch. You should. There's a couple cool graphics out there floating around on how to watch all the Marvel movies in chronological order in terms of the story. So I would recommend finding one of those graphics and going through the MCU because it's a fun time.
Yeah, they're definitely worth watching for sure.
But if you like the darker stuff, I'm in the very small minority of actually liking the DC movies. So I'll recommend those.
Or you could go to the Netflix Marvel stuff, which is kind of dark too. So
dude, it's so good.
Yeah, and that's another.
It's not on Netflix though anymore, is it?
Oh, I don't know. That's a great question.
Man, that's rough. I wonder if
it might be. I think it might be. I think the character rights went back to Marvel. But I
So
think those
they can't
shows
make
are
new
still...
stuff, but the old stuff still might be on there.
No, yeah, exactly. So they had like a deal, I think, where Marvel couldn't use those characters for like 2 years after terminating the contract or whatever. That's up now.
Right.
So the hope for me is that those, at least a couple of those shows, will continue on Disney Plus, which is a big hope. And I think
Old Maddie Murdock might be making an appearance
I
here
was
as
gonna say,
a little defense.
I don't know.
Terminator.
I don't know that that's him in the trailer like everybody thinks it is. I think that's a cop slamming the things down. You see him walking in, which I think a lot of people missed. But
he won't see him himself walking in. That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he's legitimately, signed on for the movie, right? Like confirmed.
I think so. We've reported on so many different rumors regarding the Netflix Marvel characters making appearances, but I know Matt Murdock, Kingpin, Frank Castle, those three are definitely going to somehow be soft rebooted into the MCU.
I hope so, because that's like those three the best iterations of those three characters, especially Kingpin.
Dude, Vincent D'Onofrio, is terrifying as Kingpin.
Yes.
Holy cow.
You nailed it.
Dude. Just that door scene.
But yeah,
like...
right. Yeah. But that's like that's like another thing. Like I talked about this on here before. I felt like this Spider-Man movie was the perfect time to do Kraven's Last Hunt, which is a massively popular graphic novel. So it's the perfect freaking time. I thought Jason Momoa would have been a perfect freaking Kraven. Like he would have nailed it out of the park. And then you could have thrown in some Sinister Six stuff and everybody would have been happy.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of picking the most popular Spider-Man story ever told, they picked the most obscure one that majority of people hated. So nice. I'm hoping that this trailer is just like throwing us off the scent maybe a little bit.
It's very MCU like to pick the obscure.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so there was our little tangent on the Spider-Man trailer that we did not plan on talking about, but it was really fun. I'm glad we got to do that. But real quick before let's be real. Nothing's ever real quick on Show Boys.
That's true.
But before we end, we did want to talk a little bit about the price of games these days. Chad made a very bold claim that gaming prices are cheaper than ever, I believe is what you said.
Yes.
And apparently has irrefutable evidence to the same.
Photographic evidence.
I'm going to need some big old fat proof because I'm having a hard time believing that.
I've got it. So
coming from a guy, by the way, interjection. That's going to be my new favorite thing. Interjection.
Yeah. That you put a pin in it?
Yes, exactly. There's going to be a new Showboy shirt with me going like this and saying interjection. Most of the games I play are free, by the way, and I still think gaming is more expensive.
So expensive.
Right.
Anyways, take it away, Chad.
So for Showboys at least, want to put this argument to bed permanently right now. I'm going to shut it completely down. Games are cheaper than they've ever been, including the $10 markup that they just got for the next generation. So I went to great lengths to get this evidence. Okay. So I will say that the console prices that I'm going to talk about right now, some of them are lower, some of them are higher, but when we get to the games, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to go over a couple of the most popular consoles, starting with the NES. 1985, it launched for $199. That's $478 in 2020 money. Okay. Let's go. I'm a Sega guy, so we're going to go Sega Genesis, which was 1989, and it launched at $189. Today it's $394. Okay. Now, the 3DO, which we talked about on the show last week or whenever we did that show. This one's crazy. 1993, it launched for $699. That today, that in 2020 money is $1,246.
You're not selling anything at that much.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Can't imagine why it
so,
flopped. PlayStation 1994, 95. Launch price was $299. Today that's $507. 64 launched in 96, $199, $327 today. PlayStation 2, 2000, $299. Today's price $446.
best-selling gaming console of all time.
Yep. And then there was another really
They sold it for $100 at the tail end of it too.
Yeah. The Neo Geo. You guys ever heard of the Neo Geo?
Yep.
Okay. 1991, $649. That's worth $1,200 today.
Ugh.
So that's gonna lead us into the games. Okay. So I went to great lengths to find these pieces of evidence. I have photographic evidence of this. Okay.
That's going to
So-
be your Showboy shirt.
Yeah.
Great
Photo.
lengths.
Great lengths.
So I'm going to start with the one that I don't have photographic evidence, but I have overwhelming people talking evidence. And that's NES games. And they had quite a range of prices from $10 for like really lower quality games to $60. And this is, I'm talking in, 1988 when this was out. So the average cost was $40, which is $90 today. So, that's
Inflation's
starting
a
the NES.
bitch.
Inflation, right? Yeah. So I found
That's Nick's shirt.
Inflation's a bitch.
So I found a ad
Mm.
from Toys R Us. Okay, like one
Currently
of
out
their
of business.
one of their newspaper ads from 1996, and
Things that don't exist anymore.
Right, it is for the original PlayStation 1, and I think we said launch price $199. The games on here, which are on sale, okay, 47, 42, 47, 42, pretty much, right? The actual prices of them not on sale are 49 and 54, which most of them are on this list. So that today, 49 would be $83 and 54 would be $91.
Damn.
Now, I did use an inflation calculator for 2021 on this too, because honestly, my argument was over in 2013, which is where I originally heard this at. It's still, if you go back and read those prices, it's still cheaper. So the next one that I have is a picture from, again, Toys R Us, an ad, 1996, same time frame, for the Nintendo 64. Now, these ones, a little steeper. So the console's $199, okay? We have Mario 64 for $59.99. We have Pilot Wings 64, never heard of it, for $59.99. These are not sale prices. These are MSRP. And then we have the Mortal Kombat trilogy. Ready for this one? $74.99. In 1996, those prices, 59 is $100 today, and 74 is $125 for the Mortal Kombat trilogy today. So, as I said, games are cheaper than they've ever been. There's nothing that was even close to what we're paying today.
So essentially,
The closest was $90, the NES. That was the closest.
So essentially, it's almost on par if you are always buying the like digital deluxe or like director's cut / Ghost of Tsushima aside.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like the ultimate, whatever the third tier is beyond the deluxe edition. Like that's usually the one that hits like $100.
Right. Yeah. That would be on par with the basic price from past times, past consoles.
That's super interesting. I do like how like through the years they've been $60. Like
right.
all the way through the years, but like just because of like you were saying inflation that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I guess when I was younger, I always bought games
pre-owned.
pre-owned or very far after. Like I remember on the PlayStation 1, we did the whole like Giant Eagle like rent games whole bunch. So like I guess for a big span of my initial like console gaming years, I had no understanding of like money. So
right,
I guess that checks out that they were still selling games for like $50-$60 then.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
You know, I tried to, I spent a great deal of time trying to find the launch price for the original Metal Gear Solid because I remembered it being $100, 99. So I don't know if that's just like a false memory I have, or I could not find the freaking price for this game outside of $49.99, which is, I don't think the price that game launched at. It was 2 discs. It was, that was kind of obscure. It's obscure now, but so I that was going to be my big, but I didn't need it.
Right.
I literally Mortal Kombat trilogy at $74.99 in 1996.
Yeah, that's kind of
that's all I need.
I mean that's what 40% of the console you played it on at the time. Which is ridiculous. $200 console, but you just easily went to the store and bought $100 in games.
Yeah, that's like thinking to like the Christmas I got my PS2. My parents had to drop like almost $1,000 on everything because I got like 8 games. I got the whole setup. So
damn, dude.
So, dude, what's it like being a millionaire?
Yeah, right. I actually
now we know why Chad is the way he is.
Right. Yeah. So it was like it was like the Christmas story gift that I wanted that year, right? It was the Red Ryder BB gun. Nobody had them. They couldn't find them anywhere. They told me for the longest time, "Hey, sorry, you're not getting it for Christmas." Yada yada yada.
Shut up.
And they ended up finding it at KB Toys, and then emptying out like an old like TV box or something and putting it in there. I was like, "Oh, cool! I got a new TV." And then I like opened it up, and the first thing I opened, my dad was notorious for wrapping stuff in newspaper. That's like
what's the frame rates on that TV?
Yeah, right. 15. So
10.
I think that the first game I opened was a PS2 game. They were like, "Don't get excited. We're just getting the games or when we get the console later." And then it ended up being the console. So, yeah, I actually have the whole thing on video somewhere. It's like on VHS.
Oh, we need that. We need
to get that on show because it's quite embarrassing.
There's a Christmas episode idea for What's Playing games.
Chad opening his best Christmas
break
ever.
Down and analyze the Chad Christmas Companion Series. We got a couple more comments here. Biosiv says Pilot Wings was so fun. And Michael Janis says bought Conker's Bad Fur Day for about $50 when it released. Nintendo 64.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy how.
That's why I don't know what games cost back then, because I always played them at like his house or something.
Yeah.
I was bumming.
There you go. Biosiv then says what we started doing in recent years was $60 for the game and the season pass for $40. Still cheaper, honestly.
Yeah.
And then Michael says Eagle Video. Yeah, I used to rent tons of games from Giant Eagle.
The other important part of that, Biosiv, is that when you bought a game back then, if it was broken, it's broken. You know what I mean? It's
no
done.
patches.
So if you paid $50 for that game, you're not getting any patches. It's just a busted game, and you're out of luck.
I'm gonna walk to the studio and be like, put it on this disc, burn it to this cartridge. I don't know what, and then no, that's impossible.
It's like it's not. You can't even say that they're robbing us blind, which some gamers think that gaming studios are robbing us blind out. They're giving you patches, updates, free DLC, paid DLC. I'm all for paid DLC.
And a lot more dev time.
Yeah, a lot more dev time and a lot more people working on it, a lot more money going into them. Mm-hmm. We owe them a little bit more money. I'm sorry. I'm all for the $10 up. I'm all for the $10 uptick.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here playing free games for the last 7 years. Yeah. Biosiv then says my Christmas story was a PS1 with Tomb Raider 2, Doom Ultimate Collection, and Resident Evil Director's Cut. I legit cried from excitement.
I might have cried in my video. I'm not sure. I mean, I was pretty darn excited. The only thing is that, and this goes back to the Circuit City story from earlier, is I really wanted Madden. That was like my game that I needed, and I got NFL I don't even remember the other competitor. It wasn't 2K. It was I don't know. I'll look it up, but it's awful. It was like one of the worst games. Madden was sold out everywhere, so they couldn't get Madden.
I remember once on one of my birthdays, my parents tricked me where all I wanted was like triple play baseball, whatever year it was, or MVP baseball. I forget whatever the title was at that time.
Yeah.
But they did the whole thing where like, oh, yeah, we didn't get it for you. And I was like crushed. And all my friends were like, let's go play. And I'm just like, oh, I'm too sad.
Yeah.
And then they're like, God, you're such a loser. Here, it's in this closet, you turd. Like, and then all was well. And then Michael says, Nick, remember Lego Island?
Oh shoot, yeah. That game was wild. It was so weird, but it was so fun. I forgot about that game.
Oh man. Yeah, I can't argue with that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty. I mean, with photographic evidence, it's pretty irrefutable. I remember
that we saw
games,
none of, by the way.
I'll get them to you. They're right
better
here.
be
I got
putting
them in
those
my
in
notes.
Post them in the
Got 'em right in my
Discord.
notes.
So no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go for it.
No, I was just gonna say. So like, I guess I was very aware that like the consoles stayed in line with like inflation over the years. So I guess I didn't realize that games were. I just thought they were all like $40 tops when they like came out, but I guess it makes sense that back in 90, right, or even the 80s, they were still selling them for like $50, $60.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, I remembered at least PlayStation 1 games being $49.99. I remember that pretty vividly. So
I mean, I bought Battlefront 2, but I don't remember like what I paid for it. But I don't think it matters. Battlefront 2 is worth whatever I paid for it, for sure.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's nuts. But Chad
All
was
right,
right.
he wins.
Can't argue with this guy, you know.
So he's telling everybody to buy the game full price launch day, the season pass on top,
times.
whatever the $100 copy is, buy it.
Here, I'm being honest with you. If you're a fan of the developer, you owe them buying their game at full price, because it really doesn't help them to buy it pre-owned, and it doesn't help them to buy it 5 years from now. And if you're probably buying it 5 years from now, you're probably not the biggest fan of that studio or the game. So,
I mean, after you like suggested this idea like a few weeks ago, and when I bought Ghosts last week or whatever, or like earlier this week, and I was like, wow, I only had to pay $75 for this. And I knew what was in store for me. I'm like, yeah, that's totally worth it. Like,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm surprised Director's Cut wasn't $100. Like, they could have resold that for $100, or like didn't you say like $10 more? It would have been fine. Like,
yeah, for sure. Like I said, I would gladly.
I've only bought it once. You bought it like 3 times.
Yeah, I would gladly buy that game every iteration that they put out, but. You know, that wasn't even you had to pay full price because you were buying it for the first time, right? If you had Ghost of Tsushima, it was only, I think, $30 to upgrade to the Director's Cut on PS5, and cheaper if you were just upgrading to PS4, PS4 to PS4. So,
okay, sorry, I had my microphone muted, and you might be wondering why I'm freaking out over here while you guys were talking. I've been saying I play nothing but free games. But I do support the free games. I just looked up how much money I've spent in League of Legends, which is a free-to-play game. And while probably not as much as most people who have been playing the game for 6 years, I spent $525 on League of Legends cosmetic skins.
Cosmetic skins, too.
Yeah.
Adds no functionality to the game.
It makes it look cool.
Here, I would have paid for the arrow quiver. So
that's true.
The disappearing arrow quiver.
I mean, technically you did.
Right, that's true. I didn't pay $70 for it.
And then in Pokemon Unite, another free-to-play game, I've spent $20 so far.
Dang.
So, like Chad's saying though, dude, if you like a game, like support the devs. Support the company. That's not what a lot of people want to hear, but if you want great games to continue to be made, they need money to do that. So
Absolutely.
throw them some bones, man.
They're companies.
Yeah.
Well, one last note on inflation. World of Warcraft has gotten cheaper over the years because it's been $15 a month since like day one. So I
Right.
guess it's technically half the price it probably was in 2004.
Probably. Yep.
Yeah. Spiosiv says, you guys remember renting consoles for $35 deposits at Blockbusters?
Oh my god.
Oh,
That's how I
yeah.
tried Mario
Yep.
64. And then
Yeah,
Michael
that's
says,
hilarious.
how doesn't pre-ordering help them? I have no
Wait,
idea.
say it again. How
How
doesn't
pre-ordering help them?
Did you say something like that?
I didn't
Chad?
say anything. No.
We don't know what you're talking about, Michael.
Yeah. Go home, you're drunk.
It does help them.
He then says Mario 64 has to be top 3 greatest memory. Underfunded says functionally looking fabulous. I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Your skins, maybe.
Oh, my skin, maybe, yes, or not. My skin does look fabulous, but I'm talking about skins in the game. Michael says I could never stop. Biosib says ab fab. And then Underfunded says preach, I believe, when we're talking about supporting game devs, because he's a game dev.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I did buy Glow Home, and I played it for a few minutes and was getting crushed because I am not good at it, and I plan on returning to it, but the Pokemon needle is so deep in my arm right now that
so sad.
we're just lucky I even bought the game at this point.
It's a slight, let's be honest, Nick. It's a slight improvement from what the past needles have been. So
yeah, it is
at
very
least
true.
I'm playing like multiple Pokemon games.
It's a lot of Pokemon games. It's not your fault. I don't know how there's all of a sudden like 10 viable playable Pokemon games. Like that's
fair,
what we got
half
out
of them are fan made, so like
yeah, but still it's just crazy.
So are I'm assuming the fan made one is only on PC? All of them?
Yeah, you can play it on like Android.
Did you get Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee for the Switch?
I got Shield.
You really
Switch.
You really should maybe get Let's Go, because you know what those are.
Yeah, I am 1000% going to get Legends Arceus.
Yeah,
that game looks
I tell you what, man,
dope.
The beginning of this year coming up, 2022, is really stacked for games.
Yeah,
it's going to be a very busy first half of the year.
Yeah, I was like ridiculously excited for Unite, and then you take that excitement and multiply by like 1 million, and that's how excited I am for Arceus, because it's like probably the closest we're ever going to get to the Pokemon game that I pitched back in our game pitch.
Right.
episode.
Yeah.
It's not like a true MMO, but it's basically a Breath of the Wild reskin, and is kind of leans more on the, well, I shouldn't say leans more on the RPG element, but is presented a little more as an RPG as opposed to a Pokemon game.
Right.
But that's like a whole other episode. But I forget where I was going with that. But we have answered the boys' comments, so let's get to those real quick before we get off here. Underfunded Scientists. First off, what I posted is this week we'll be joined by Chad to discuss weird gaming history between Sony and Nintendo, maybe some other weird stuff. We want to know if you have any weird gaming history facts or tidbits to share. So Underfunded Scientists posted a couple articles. One is 13 things you never knew about Sony, and the other is 15 next level facts about Nintendo. I've been watching too much Letterkenny. Squirrely Dan is starting to like bleed into my manner of speaking here. But yeah, so make sure you go check out those articles. I skimmed through them. There's some really cool stuff. He then also said, fun fact, I had every game released in the US for Nintendo and every controller variant.
Wow.
Sold them to a resale place called Funkoland, RIP, to get a Sega Genesis when it came out. I bet you they gave you probably like $10
Yep.
for all that stuff, which feels so bad, man, because today that collection would be worth
A
so
fortune.
much,
Yeah.
so much money.
A fortune.
But that is a really cool fun fact. I thank you for sharing that. That's pretty cool. Biosiv says Sony was originally hired to make a disc system for Nintendo. At the last minute, Nintendo backed out and Sony decided to follow through with their own. PlayStation was born. It's almost like he knew exactly what we were going to talk about.
Yeah, right.
Because that's exactly what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So good job figuring
me and
that one out.
Biosiv.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike.
We could never have a Showboys episode that was just you, Biosiv, and Jordan, because there would be no conversation.
Nobody would be talking.
Yeah, you would say something.
We all agree.
Yeah, they would just be like, yeah.
Uh-huh. You said what I was going to say. Wow.
Yeah. And then Underfunded then replied with disc technology coming out blew my mind. I don't know if it was the first, but first I played was Dreamcast, a game called Bug Juice, I think. It was insane. I'm glad Sony didn't give up. I never got a PS1 until PS2 was already out and the price dropped, but I played it a lot at friends. Agreed, man. And then I forget where in Discord he posted this. Might have been like another channel, because by the way, Underfunded Scientist is our new chief moderator in Discord. So
nice.
Shout out.
Out.
So it might have been in a different room in Discord, but he said somewhere that the Game Boy is the first console played in space.
Oh, interesting.
Which was a very fun fact.
Yeah, definitely.
Which was super cool. But I mean, it makes sense, right?
Right.
Portable. But thank you guys so much for the replies over there and answer the boys. We love it. Always be sure to check out that channel in Discord. Every week we'll post the show topic, and looking for your replies. Oh yes, he said it was on Twitter that he told me that.
There you go.
So yeah. You guys have anything before we get out of here?
I just want to talk about Ghost of Tsushima a little bit more. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
We're probably going to make
SpongeBob 3 hours later.
Yeah, I could have a 3-hour episode on it, to be honest.
We're probably just going to make next week's episode of What's Playing, and Mike won't be here, so we can just talk about Ghosts some more then.
Yes, let's do that.
Speaking of,
I'm in.
Transition. Next week, I'm going on vacation, y'all. So, hey, depending on what time we leave, which we are leaving on Thursday, but if we leave later at night, I might try to, be on the episode and then just literally leave from this seat to the car seat and then go to the beach.
Oh, you ride a car seat? That's cute.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I think that's for the kids. You make Becca drive?
They make big people car seats.
They do.
But yeah, depending on what time we leave, I may or may not be here. But I have, the utmost confidence in you two. You guys don't need me. I don't need to be on this show. But yeah, so I'll be out probably next Thursday, definitely the Thursday after that. But we do have some fun episodes for you. It feels really weird not promoting a companion series on Sunday nights. So
fire it up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can we do a Ghost of Tsushima companion series?
There you go.
Oh yeah.
You can stream Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, I definitely should probably figure out how to do that. Speaking
of streaming, you may have noticed some additional gaming content coming out from Nick and I. We've been trying to stream / upload some pre-recorded gaming videos to our channel. It's been a lot of fun. I've been streaming, as you may have guessed, a lot of Pokemon games, and Nick's been uploading some really cool Civ videos. And like he talked about, he wants to.
I've been slacking.
Some Valheim tour videos. We might get some Humankind content coming out, and we may just have some cool streaming news in a few weeks to talk about with you guys. But yeah, I'm gonna remind him one more time about our super cool Patreon page. There, Nick.
Yeah, we launched Patreon last week on our 50th episode special. right? Lots of cool stuff there. We have anywhere from like the donation tier of $1 all the way up to 3 more tiers above that. That just gets you increasingly more and more perks of being part of the Showboys network, if you will. The umbrella, the brand, all that. But yeah, like Mike said earlier, definitely helps out the podcast, lets us invest that monies into anything else that helps kind of make this all a better thing that we're doing here, whether it's like merch or just giveaways. We love doing the giveaways. Need to just do that more and more and more.
Improving the quality of our content, helping with hosting, costs and things like that. We do have some pretty cool perks. There's, some tiers get exclusive Patreon only episodes. There's Patreon exclusive Discord channels. Lots of interesting stuff there. So make sure you check out the Patreon page, which is just patreon.com/showboyspodcast. And if you're able to, that would be amazing. If you're not, that's totally cool too. The best
join the Discord
is joining our Discord and subscribing and liking, rating, reviewing on whatever platform you watch or listen on. Chad, you got anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Yeah, so we're finally all back together for That's Strange this week for a normal episode. So you can find that next Thursday, thatstrange.net.
Very nice. Didn't you guys just, I don't know if it was your latest episode, but I saw something on Facebook about a Fear Street?
Yeah, so we're doing we did like a kind of spin-off called Strange Theater, where we sat down and watched a movie together and kind of talked over it, Mystery Theater 3000 style. And we got some feedback that wasn't necessarily the easiest way to go about that. So we've changed it. So now we are just watching a movie and coming together to talk about it at the end, which makes it much easier for the listener. And the first one in that format is the first Fear Street Part 1, 1994, which came out today.
Hey, look at me being on time. Yeah. But yeah, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Underfunded, BioCiv, Michael, thanks for hanging out in the comments and chatting along with us. We really appreciate that. It always makes it a lot more fun when we get to interact with you guys. Again, thank you guys for answering the boys this week. And if you haven't already, what the heck are you doing? Join our Discord. It's a fun place to be. And just one last thing. Man, something happened with the 50th episode with Nick and I. Not that, our zeal for Showboys ever was waning, but boy, we've been slamming out some really cool work behind the scenes and doing a lot of planning and brainstorming and dreaming up all these ideas. And I'm really excited about where the podcast is heading. I don't know about you, Nick, or you, Chad, or anyone else out there. But I'm just excited, and I think we have a lot of cool things in store for you guys down the road. And I just can't wait to get it out to you guys. So thanks again for the support, and thank you again for doing this with me. It's so much fun.
Of course, yeah. And I'll say if anyone has any interest in getting involved in Showboys more, join the Discord, chat us up. More than happy to explore any new ventures anyone wants to get into. We like to help people out becoming content creators and basically getting into this space. And that's something that me and Mike both enjoy. So definitely help.
Yeah, for sure. And it could go anywhere from range anywhere from, like Nick said, content creation, or if you're a more behind the scenes person, we're always looking for moderators for Discord or maybe even the live streams. There's always need for video stuff, editing, art stuff. I mean, we have two stellar, I say 2.5. I'm going to lump Nick in there as the half. Stellar artists already, but you can never have enough help. Just get at us. And in the meantime, you have a lovely evening and a great rest of your week. Nick and I will see you back here on Monday for the newscast. Until then, have a great night. See ya.
Later.
Dude, I just found the greatest picture ever of Wendigoon.
Ooh.
Let me show you this.
Shout out Wendy.
Shout out, big boy Wendy. Actually, I don't know why I said big boy. Don't take offense to that. I mean, he's just my dude. But yeah, check out this picture.
Did you Google him? What is this on?
Maybe?
Don't be a creep.
Don't worry about it. Okay?
Oh man.
Maybe.
Shout out Wendigoon.
Yeah, shout out. He might be coming back.
Mike's so excited.